Hey everybody, this is Cameron from Obnoxious and Anonymous, and welcome to the Twin Peaks Thought of the Day for Friday, September 8th. What year is it? Oh yeah, 2017. My guests today are two Canadian women, actually, so I can't wait to talk about Twin Peaks with them. First we have, I had to go there. First we have Mandy, who's making her triumphant return from stalking all the Twin Peaks locations from the return. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, hi.
I can't wait to talk to you more about that. And also, we have the newest YouTube sensation in the Twin Peaks universe, so much so that YouTube has already ripped down one of her videos. We have we have Annie from How's Annie? How's it going?
Hi, very well. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
All right. So, Manny, tell us about your adventure. I know you popped in for a second or two during the countdown to the finale video, but tell us why you went down to Southern California to hunt down these locations.
Well, I've got two really good friends there, and we were talking after episode 16, and they're like, it's just so weird that we're not watching this together. And I said, I know. And they said, you should come down here. And I thought, ah, ha, ha. And then we kind of looked, and flights were really decent. So I was like, what the heck? So I went down there to spend some time with them, and we devised a plan as to the places that we would go and check out some sites, and we did.
So why don't we start with which sites did you see?
Okay, so we went to the Buckhorn Sheriff Station. We didn't get to do the tour because my flight was early or whatever, so we'll do that next time. But
what do you mean tour? There's a Twin Peaks tour?
It's actually like a police museum.
Oh, okay.
So you can do an hour-long tour, and they take you all the way through it. So, and apparently there's a ton of places that they shot in there, so you get to see it on this museum tour. So you basically go and act like you're interested in the police history, and secretly are taking pictures of, where Phyllis was standing. So, so next time. So we went to Buckhorn. We went to Dougie's house with a Dougie cutout because that's the only way to do it. And
but you said it didn't have a red door.
It did not have a red door. So it must have just been for the show. I don't know.
If the owners were smart, right, they'd paint it red.
Yeah, that would be awesome. But then they'd just be inundated with people in their front yard with cutouts of.
So what? You can't live in a Twin Peaks house and not embrace it.
Yeah, that's true. So we went there, and then we went to the 119 lady, her house, and Jade's. Well, I guess the house where Jade and Dougie were. They're right across the street from each other. So we went there, and we stayed in the car the whole time because it wasn't a get out of your car and take pictures of people's houses kind of place. And then we drove out to the middle of nowhere to see the hotel where Mr. C and Daria were. We didn't get pictures there because it was pitch black out, and there were people standing guard over the place, and it was really, really scary. So we just took off from there. And what else did we do? I think. Oh, and then we went to Lucky 7 Insurance into the building there, and you can walk right up to the door and stuff and kind of see everything in there, and which was neat, and got some good pictures, and I think that was about it. So not a ton of places, but good places. I wish that we had we tried to find the zone. We're pretty sure we know whereabouts it is, like what city it's in, but it was getting dark, and the city all looked kind of the same, so we didn't get to actually find it. But if we had waited another day after the finale, then we would have found at least 2 or 3 more spots too. But we'll save that for next time. But yeah, it was a great trip. We talked Twin Peaks the whole time, and watched the finale together, and I ugly cried in front of my friends, and they were totally cool with it. And we had to take a break in between the episodes because we were just so kind of emotionally wiped and overwhelmed by everything that we had seen. So we're just kind of sitting outside, like smoking cigarettes in silence, going, what did we just watch? And then we came back in finally to watch part 18, and that was a whole other discussion after that. So, but yeah, it was great. So,
when are you planning your excursion to Jackrabbit's Palace?
ooh, probably October. I usually go down there around Thanksgiving or Canadian Thanksgiving. So, probably do that then. That'd be great because that's not too far.
All right, Annie. I saw you put up a video the other day. What has changed in the last week since you saw the finale? I haven't been able to see your latest video, but I'm going to watch it this weekend. So just give me kind of a brief rundown about where you're thinking, because I'm sure it's probably changed even more after today, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Yeah, it's been a process, I guess. I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy part 18. I did, but I was shaken by it, and it's like it digged a hole inside my heart and my soul, and that created some kind of a vacuum effect, which sent me right in outer space like NATO. So I'm still processing this. I'm actually more positive now. At first, I felt existential about it, kind of like, oh, it's a big loop of failure for Cooper now. But the more I think about it, and the more I think the White Lodge knew exactly what was going to happen, and the more I feel like maybe Cooper didn't know all of it, but he had he knew what he was getting into. So today I'm way more positive about it, and I still have a lot of hope that something else might happen later. So that, maybe a year or two from now, I can start my Firewatch With Me videos again, and they can be removed from YouTube for copyright infringement. Can't wait.
You got to come over to Vidney where all the cool people are.
I will. I sure will. I mean, I like that video. It's not like anybody can. I understand their point. I don't want to infringe anybody's copyrights, but I just think it's very harmless. Like, nobody is actually going to not pay a subscription to Showtime and watch my face with the really bad sound in the back with my reactions over it. But you know what? I think it's my mistake. I think I might have tagged Showtime in the YouTube video because I was so young and naive a week ago. And yeah, that's probably how they found it, and they don't like it. So yeah, eventually I will learn how to edit videos, and I will probably just make a shorter one with all the best moments so that they can't complain about anything. So I'm sorry, Showtime. It's really out of love that I did it. I'm sure it's gotten you a lot of love, not hate. So please don't send me to jail. And I'm not removing my videos. I'm not removing my other videos now. So I'm hoping I won't go to YouTube jail for that. I just want the momentum to pass before I become a politically correct YouTube user 100%.
All right. Well, obviously there's a lot of stuff to talk about, but one thing, this is not an organized conversation tonight. We had talked about doing the watch alongs for 17 and 18. And I just can't bring myself to do it yet. I mean, it means that the doing that, it would end this cycle of the show. But two, I don't even think I'm still done kind of processing my thoughts about it. I just need maybe a couple more days. So that's where I am. But I wanted to do a video tonight and kind of talk it out a little bit more. I've only seen the episodes once, although I've seen the Laura Cooper in the woods scene several times because it was yes, they heard what I've been saying for years. But it's, and I've read a lot of people's theories, and a couple of them I want to talk about tonight. But I'm under the impression, okay, because when she first says, "Where are we going?" he says, "Home." Right? And I was like, yes, this is great. However, the more I think about it, they included a shot of Jackrabbit's palace in there. So I don't think Cooper was taking her to the house. I think he was taking her back to the White Lodge.
Possibly because the house, I mean, the house has got Bob in it. It's
Right,
got
because
Judy
even if,
to become.
well, yeah, I mean, if he takes her home, Leland will just kill her the next day.
Yeah,
So, right? But
it's true.
I mean, how is that saving her life?
Yeah. Who broke Mandy?
Yeah. I'm so glad that the sexual assault and murder of a young 17-year-old woman is making Manny bust out into hysterics here on a Friday night.
I'm so tired.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I at first I was like, oh, he's gonna take her home, and I thought it was great. I basically thought what was gonna happen was that he was gonna take her home, and we were gonna get that moment because they went back in time. So when Laura's mom says, Laura, breakfast or whatever, that then she'd be home to come down in the morning. And I thought, okay, we're heading towards that direction. That's fantastic. But yeah, because we saw her, appear in that orb thing, right? If from part 8, because I was always under the impression, and again, I was wrong, that Cooper was like going to come out of the lodge, and that was going to be one of his journeys, was getting out of the lodge, and then we were going to move forward from there. What I didn't realize was that he was going to come out of the lodge, but almost become like an agent of the lodge after that, right? It's almost like he's on his way to becoming a Philip Jeffries or something like that. Like he may evolve into something else at some point, because he's so intent. I hope he doesn't become a coffee cup, but
A donut.
a donut.
Shared by.
Yeah, donut disturb, right? Like that hawk sign.
That was good.
Yeah, but I just, I mean, it's almost like he arrived in Twin Peaks, and some people were really, really disappointed that he didn't like stop and chat with anybody. He just kind of shows up in that room, and he's just like, "Sorry guys, I gotta go." But I do like, reading theories that, like, when he says, I hope I'll see y'all again. Some people are saying, oh, that's a fourth wall breaking of like letting the audience know, I'll see you all. I hope to see you guys again in maybe another incarnation. And that might be true. But I think he knows he's going to go and screw with history a little bit. And so if he saves Laura Palmer, then obviously he doesn't have a reason to come to Twin Peaks. And so
Yeah.
he wouldn't have ever met those people. So I liked it where he says, I hope I'll see you all again, because maybe different circumstances. But if he really wanted to save Laura Palmer, you don't go back and do what he did. I mean, I love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes of the whole time, of the whole series, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would go back to Pearl Lakes and you would stop Bob from getting in Leland. That's how you save Laura Palmer.
Or the whole nuclear experiment in the 40s. That's the birth of that evil. So
Right.
that would solve a lot of problems, even for us nowadays.
Right. So anyway, but I was, because like when you think about him taking Laura back to the White Lodge, it's like he's obviously acting for the fireman. I mean, and we know the fireman has been talking to him about this, because when he shows up in the sheriff's station, he knows who Freddie is, and we've never seen him get the information about Freddie.
Yeah.
In fact, when the fireman says to him, Richard and Linda, and we were of course thinking about the whole thing with the kids, and because Richard Horne ended up being just a complete red herring, that I really like the idea that whole first scene is the post season 3, post the return, like that's like after this whole thing has happened. Makes sense.
That's what I had thought too, that once we got the scene in the hotel room, I was like, okay, that very first scene from part 1 goes next season. It doesn't fit here. And
I also think I agree with people too, where they say part 17 kind of in a way closes out this series, and part 18 is sort of, even though it is a continuation of a conclusion, it is sort of like a backdoor pilot for another season going forward. It does work as a conclusion if you do want to look at it that way. And then of course, with that epic article that dropped today, Who is it? Let me see if I can get it here. It's not the. Oh, which one is it? It's the medium. Oh yeah, the medium.
Yeah.
Alex Fulton for Medium writes, episodes 17 and 18 of Twin Peaks: The Return are meant to be watched in sync. Now, this is something that has creeped up through the series. We've had individual scenes, the Cooper Nido scene and the box scene, and then of course sticking of the fork, and then the Charlotte E screaming on the ground. But now they've taken a step further, and now they're saying the whole of 17 and 18 are meant to be watched simultaneous together. And the guy gives points, which we can go through. But that says to me right there that this entire series is filled with stuff like this that we just haven't even uncovered yet.
Yeah.
They can't just have it just be a couple little moments in the last 2 episodes. I mean, there's things hidden through. I mean, we've been talking about it for the last few weeks, saying if people are coming up with all these theories now, what are they going to come up with 6 months from now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, just within the last 5 days, I mean, everybody's take on it has evolved so much. I mean, so much. The way they feel also, I think once the anger or the frustration or whatever people are feeling or might be feeling, I think once this is gone, I think other things will come to sight because they won't be blocked by their feelings of hurt or confusion. They will just come to accept it.
Well, I also think that the idea of watching them simultaneously, which, let's be honest here, most people aren't going to be doing, but if you do, it does create a whole different appreciation of it. And obviously Dwayne Dunham, the editor of this whole thing, was working overtime with this series, having to make sure that not only did it work as an individual episode, but make sure it was in sync with the previous thing. So thank God for Avid. Yeah, it's amazing. And again, this is one of the opening of the article, and it shows the 2 Rancho Rosa signs, and it makes there was a reason why I kept calling out all the Rancho Rosa stuff in the watch-alongs and the initial reactions, because I almost think that you could I wonder if you could sync all those up, or if that almost tells you a story in itself. If you match, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you match, what happens if you sync episode 1 and episode 18 together, or 2 and 17, or 3 and 16? I mean, you never know. I mean, it could all just.
Well, I've read some things about being a symmetry between episode 1 and 18. I can't remember. I've read so much stuff, I get confused with giving credits to people. But there is a symmetry, like how it begins and how it ends as well. So I'm sure we're going to uncover a lot of different symmetries, new ones.
Yeah, and again, people are saying in the chat that the ending of this is more or less like an ending they really love. And I agree. I really love the last scene. I think that totally works as the last scene. My only issues is, and again, I've only seen it one time, but my only issues were that once 17 kind of ended, that 18 kind of became, yes, it was kind of the variation of the Lost Highway and Lynn Empire stuff that Lynch does, but it also was really breaking the fourth wall, where it was like, it wasn't even like the town anymore. It was like when you see in 17 Lynch, Kyle and Laura walking down that hallway together. Well, it's not about Twin Peaks anymore. It's almost like it's David Lynch, Laura Dern, and Kyle MacLachlan stepping out of the box that is Twin Peaks, and him walking down the hallway with his 2 muses for the last 40 years, and just moving forward, like. Cooper and Diane in the motel room becoming Richard and Linda. Is that really anything that we should be concerned about? Or is that just Lynch just wanting to do sexy scene with Kyle and Laura because he loved them since Blue Velvet? It's just, was 18 kind of an excuse to just have those 2 together? So let me throw out this. What if you took Laura Dern out, and what if Annie was waiting for him outside Glastonbury Grove, and then the same stuff happened? Well, that changes everything right there, right? and it's like okay, he steps out of the lodge, he sees Diane, they kiss, then they go to this motel after they cross the 430 miles, but then she disappears and he doesn't like give a crap. He just comes out of a different motel and gets in his car and drives on to Judy's in Odessa, Texas. So it's very bizarre that like, he was so happy to see her and then she's gone the next day. He's like, oh, well, it's, I don't know. It is. And that's why I was kind of flirting with the idea before this whole, symmetry thing you were talking about with the 2 episodes. Is what if he told Laura, she goes, where are we going? And he says, we're going home. And then he walks her home and she goes in the house and goes into her bedroom. And it's because she survived that night. She goes into her bedroom. Her bedroom's different. And then she comes downstairs and there's a lady in there. Who are you people? What are you doing here? Well, I live here. No, you don't. We live here. Well, what is your name? Treeman. You could do the same ending. And almost cut out all of 18 if they had just gone home. But I almost would have loved to have seen, instead of a repeat of the Red Room scene from part 2, I would have loved to have seen Cooper and Laura go into that White Lodge. Love to have seen that. And then maybe while Laura's doing something, Cooper sits down and the fireman says, I got something to tell you, 430, Richard and Linda. Okay. And then maybe Cooper comes out, meets Diane or wherever, and then they go. Because then we have some sort of context as to what's going on. Because when he comes out of the Red Room and Diane's waiting there, it's like, look, as long-time Twin Peaks fans, wasn't there just a part of you, just a small part of you thinking, what on earth is going on with this Cooper-Diane romance happening? Because there's no indication. Even though there's been a real indication of a lot of other things in this show, including that song by Badalamenti, there's no indication at all that there's a romance between those two. Even though she says, we've kissed before, once. Okay, yeah, but I didn't think of that as like a romance. It almost seemed like, oh, we were friends or this happened one time. And,
they were partners more than anything, I feel. When you go back to the original series, she was like his secretary, but he can't live without his secretary. Like she was his biggest support, I guess. So I understand why they're trying to do this, but of course nobody saw this coming, and it was a bit weird to see them have like intimacy like this.
Well, especially it was pretty graphic.
Yeah.
It was
it was creepy, and he looked a lot like Bad Cooper during that motel scene. So,
well, a lot of people have been saying, he's not good Cooper, he's not bad Cooper, he's actually like a human being. Like he seems more middle of the road. He's got aspects of both. I mean, good Cooper never would have shot somebody in the foot. He would have walked over to the table and, gentlemen, what can I help you with? Leave that woman alone. Bad Cooper would have just killed them all. So so he's just kind of in the middle.
I watched. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm so sorry, but someone last night put on a video with a new theory about when they're on the road, like crossing at that electric passage. It's like they're entering the doppelganger world, and that's how. So Linda would be Diane's doppelganger, and Richard would actually be Bad Cooper's name, like all the while. But the fact, a bit like Bad Cooper was into our world as a bad person, like Cooper is still the good person, but inside the bad world. So he becomes a bit more bad, but not as much as Mr. C would have. So I don't think that's like a final theory, but there's interesting elements about this guy's theory, and how actually the end scene is also like the kind of doppelganger reverse reality from like maybe Sarah is in fact that Alice woman, or it's really, I'm really confused, but there's like food for thoughts there, I find.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat talking about they like all these different theories except it was all a dream type of stuff, and I agree. In fact, let me think, because I don't want to say anything direct, but I honestly don't think David Lynch has ever done that in his career, suggested that anything was just a dream. So I don't think you should ever, shouldn't apply that. I mean, Lost Highway wasn't a dream. Mulholland Drive wasn't a dream. I don't care what people say. That a lot of people will tell you, like, oh, Mulholland Drive, first 90 minutes is her dream, and then she wakes up. Well, then that makes the first 90 minutes completely obsolete. Like, why should I even watch it? Like, that's ridiculous. That's absurd. Inland Empire, Wild at Heart, Blue Velvet, even Blue Velvet. I've said this before. Jeffrey opens his eyes at the end to give you the idea, like, oh, maybe this was a dream or a daydream or something like that. But then he gets up and he's with Sandy and his aunt, and Isabella Rossellini's got her kid. So it's a dream state, but it's not a dream. Mm-hmm. and that's the same thing with this Twin Peaks. It's, we may be dealing with alternate dimensions and realities, but it's not a dream. Even though Lynch keeps saying this whole thing, who's the dreamer? It's not about literally asleep dreaming. It's about just being in a state where anything is possible. You can dream if you, it's like that line of Rocky Horror, don't dream it, be it, So anyway, let's see here. But yeah, no, I really like the they're talking about how, the sex scene between, Diana Cooper, Richard Linda, whatever, seems like Lost Highway to them. Now, some people have suggested that when they're Richard and Linda, that they're the kids from Part 8 grown up, because the same music playing during the sex scene is the same music playing at the radio station when the two kids kiss in Part 8.
That makes no sense, though. They would be way older. They would be, unless they're. Like, what year are they in? That I don't know.
Well, they're definitely not in the 50s, but
no. But if that motel scene was in the 90s, then that could make sense, because I used to think it was Sarah, and she would have like minus 25. She would be probably the age that Cooper is now. So
right. So a lot of people are saying, and George is also saying that Kyle did say he was going to play 4 characters, right? So we had Cooper, we had Mr. C, the doppelganger, we had Dougie, and we have this Richard.
Big Cooper.
Yes, but when Major Briggs comes to Cooper's room in the second season, in episode 1 or episode 2 of the second season, and he says, This is what we monitor in space. It says Cooper, Cooper, Cooper. But if you look at the page, there's 4 Coopers. There's not 3. I mean, he says it 3 times, but there's actually 4 on that line. The last one's kind of cut off on the screen. So, I mean, that does make sense. But that is very bizarre. If that, not that they had planned this years ago, but that's the Mark Frost of the writing, is like, okay, how can I fit this in? How can I make this work? I can see Lynch just throwing out tons of ideas, and I saw Frost writing trying to figure out how to make this all work, and I think for the most part he did a pretty good job making it make some sort of when I say logic, I mean I wasn't sitting there like this the whole time. But I do agree with some people who will say, listen, if Lynch wanted to spin this and have it kind of go crazy in the last, part, then maybe this should have been something that was hinted at maybe throughout the series or something like that, given us because to just throw it at us in the last, 40 minutes of an 18-hour film, it does kind of surprise you, not necessarily in a altogether positive way on first time watching, because you're sitting there disoriented, like, what is going on and why should I care? I was just saving Laura Palmer in the woods, and now I'm having sex with Laura Dern in a motel room, and I don't, I was sitting there thinking, why is Lynch trying to force us into accepting Cooper and Diane in a relationship like this late in the game when there's been no evidence of this? I mean,
I think the issue is that instead of getting the answers people were looking for, we just got like a whole new huge layer of questions and mysteries and confusion. So that's something that takes time to digest.
True. But I guess let me throw this out. Was this the right show for Lynch to do this. Does that make any sense? Like, yeah, he can give us all these new mysteries, and he doesn't have to answer everything, because he certainly didn't answer anything in this series. If you think about all the plot threads, nothing was really answered. Nothing about the box, nothing about Becky, Steven, nothing about all those women at the Roadhouse, or I'm sorry, the Bang Bang Bar. You know, there's so much stuff that you can unravel and say, well, nothing went anywhere. Audrey, you know, everything's just kind of there, which I guess, you know, it creates that feeling where you can think about it and daydream about it all day long. And I think they were on the right path, and I'm not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that just because they give it to us doesn't mean people have to accept it. You know, like they can say, hey, it was going good, and then all of a sudden Lynch got bored with the material and said, I'm going to just do this over here. And it's like, well, if you're going to do Inland Empire, then make Inland Empire 2. Or
I don't think he got bored. I think he got overexcited. Like, on the contrary, I think he's just like super lynched himself.
Yeah, there's that meme going around that says, you know, you got lynched, and it's all like he's all gangstered out and stuff like that. It's hilarious. I don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, listen, I you know, people say on repeat viewings it works. Some people say, you know, again, if you watch it simultaneously, it works, and that's great. I'm just saying, on initial view, I understand why so many people like wanted to take off Lynch and Frost's heads at the end of this series, because they were like, what on earth was that? You know, season 2 ended with all those cliffhangers because they wanted a season 3. ABC denied it. It got canceled. Boom. Then Fire Walk With Me came out, and people got upset because, you know, it didn't answer a lot of stuff about stuff. But at the same time, if you look back at Fire Walk With Me, it actually does answer quite a bit if you just look for the clues. So here they have season 3, where they have complete carte blanche to do whatever they want and tell it however they want and end it however they want, and they do. And I think some people were not necessarily wanting finality. Like, I think they would have been okay with that last scene as the ending. But I think between 17 and that scene, it was like, well, this isn't even the same show anymore that I've been watching for the last 17 episodes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's you know, so I understand that. Like, if they had gone from Cooper and Laura in the woods to them walking up to Laura's house and then it ending with that same thing with the lights going out, I think you would have seen a 70-30, you know, more positive thing. I think that last hour is what made people just go ballistic. Mm-hmm. Because it was like, because again, it was like all this new storyline stuff that came out of nowhere. And then at the same time, we had to also contend with Cooper and Diane together, when we all know the only reason why they're together is because David Lynch wanted to work with Kyle and Laura together as a couple. That's it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean,
well, if there had been 19 parts, I wouldn't have minded that, like that extra too much information bit that we got. I think what hurts, and it hurts, is the lack of closure. People were, even though they didn't want to have like complete answers, they wanted to have a bit of closure to see what's up with Audrey. Is Audrey okay? And you know, I think that's like a couple of huge intrigues that people that like broke their head trying to resolve all summer. I think that's what really got people angry, not the extra information. It's just the lack of resolution. And, you know, they wanted to spend some more time like as a like a Twin Peaks family with their favorite characters from a while ago as well. So I get it, I guess. I get it, but I'm all accepting of like all the hurt. You know, it's like, and what I said in my video this week is I actually willingly embarked on this journey, and I didn't know what the final destination was. And it turns out it's a completely crazy destination I would never have purchased a ticket for, but that's cool. I mean, I never expected that to happen. So, but I miss the closure feeling a lot.
Do you think Cope 185 says there's actually 5 Coopers on the paper Briggs shows? Okay, great. So maybe there's a 5th Cooper hiding around in there somewhere. I don't know. But I mean, It is okay. I'm going to ask this question a little bluntly. But I have to ask it kind of directly. Okay, it's my humble opinion that I think that Twin Peaks is going to continue in some form. I don't mean necessarily a long series. It might just be a couple episodes. It might be a couple standalone Showtime events. I don't know. But I will ask the flip side, which is, do you think at the end of part 18, do you think Twin Peaks is dead? And the reason why I asked that is because I saw a lot of people that said to me, Lynch breaking the fourth wall and taking us into this whole other territory and basically eliminating seasons 1 and 2 from happening. That just completely just killed any enthusiasm they have for anything moving forward. And they really couldn't care less anymore.
I think there's room for surprises, and we have infinity in front of us right now, so everything is possible. It's just up to them. But of course, they probably will push it a bit further from the original series each time they do a new series. But I mean, I don't think it will become a complete other show. Like, it won't become the Inception or. So, I mean, they're creative people. I'm sure they can play and make us happy and then take away our happiness and bring it back. And I mean, they love to do this. I'm sure there's a way.
Well, someone else in the chat brings up, John says, do you think this was David Lynch's goal? Is to say, you guys wanted to return to Twin Peaks. You got your wish. And, now you don't want to go back anymore. And I would argue, did David Lynch even take us back to Twin Peaks? Because if you break it down, there wasn't a lot of the town in this show. We got a couple things in the diner and a couple things in Ben Horne's office. We didn't even see Ben Horne walk around anywhere.
That's okay. He's old. He can just sit down now. He's been jumping around the whole a few other seasons. So he's an old man. Now Jerry's doing the walking for him.
The Jerry Horne stuff. I was hoping it wasn't going to feel like David Lynch and David Patrick Kelly decided to just shoot some stuff randomly on a Sunday. And his entire subplot was just that. It felt like outtakes that they had just thrown into the show.
I've really, now that we can see everything as a whole piece, or, this particular season or whatever, I keep going back to the original plan that was 9 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted more money because he knew that he needed to make 18. We don't know what the actual truth behind any of those conversations were. And I felt very peaceful at the end of this when I saw Laura scream and the lights went out. It was kind of an immediate reaction of, okay, there's more. They're not done. Because I felt like they wouldn't have done the things that they did in 18 without trying to set us up for something different. The Diane and Cooper stuff, it really does not fit anywhere. It was very frustrating in episode 8 or part 18. Them switching into Richard and Linda, them even just going into a different dimension that we've never heard about or never explored before. Sure, I'll bring up Audrey too, and the Roadhouse. And
we're talking about Twin Peaks, not Little Shop of Horrors. Audrey too. What are you talking about?
Audrey as well.
Okay. That's an in joke for some of you people out there on YouTube land.
And Armpit Girl and Billy and all these, and Steven, Steven has now apparently killed himself. There's so many things that they introduce, and I feel like those discussions between 9 episodes and 18 episodes are much larger than what we know, and they've created many more worlds than what we know. So if we don't get anything else, would I be okay with Laura waking up and the entire thing, just all life as we knew it, reversed? Yeah, I actually would, because the primary focus of Twin Peaks is Laura. Laura is the one. She is everybody's obsession. She's what this whole world revolves around. When she's not there, it's not as interesting. I've said this before, that I was rewatching the seasons before the new one started, and there's a huge block of episodes there where the Laura stuff has completely died down, and the people are just not as interesting when their world doesn't revolve around her. So,
but she's barely in this series. So are you saying that this thing was boring to you?
no, not at all. No, because there was there was still this element of her. They did something different in. I'm just talking about the first two seasons. This particular season, no, that does not apply. But as soon as she comes back, that's all I care about. You know, when they show the scenes with her and James from Fire Walk with Me, when Cooper's got her in the woods and stuff, then all of a sudden it's like nothing else matters anymore, because our goal is Laura. We need to see Laura. We need to make sure she's okay. We need to send her off well, bring her back to the Angel, whatever it is. And so if Laura is rescued, if she has a second chance at life, where she will fill the earth again. I'm clearly obsessed with Laura, but you know what I mean? Like if she's okay and she's safe and she can start again, I'm good with that.
But what about the idea that, I mean, because my personal theory right now, just looking at it, what I've seen is that Cooper went and tried to, save Laura. And in that element, either Judy or the White Lodge, in order to protect Laura, moved her to this other reality. And so Cooper had to, try and get her again. Some people, I mean, before this whole watching the two episodes, side by side, some people have said, well, the reason why we get a replay of that scene in part 18, like an actual replay of the scene of them walking through the woods, was that was maybe Cooper on another attempt, that he tried a few times. And then that's what prompted him to be like, no, okay, now I have to figure out where she is and go get her. And then when he went and found her, that, she was still kind of having similar issues and problems. But I mean, do you think Judy was responsible for moving her away? I mean, some people think about that because of the sound that we hear right before Laura disappears. I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of relieved at the end of the series, because we even if it's some people think it's a kind of a dark ending. I'm kind of relieved that Cooper and Laura are still together. Kind of is, to me, it's almost the same ending as Fire Walk with Me. They're together in this kind of hell world, but at least they have each other. And the fact that when Laura screams, all the lights go out. Well, what's powering those lights? Electricity. And almost seems like subliminally, like Laura's now awake and Judy's going to lose.
Yeah.
So in a way, it is a dark ending, but it's also a happy ending. It's what a lot of people thought. I kept saying it's going to have a happy ending, and a lot of people said, no, I think it's going to be more bittersweet. I think it's bittersweet in a sort of a dark way. But if you look at it, it's kind of a sad ending, and it's kind of a happy ending at the same time, and which is the best of both worlds, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the first time I saw the ending, I at first I thought it was Judy taking away Laura all the time like this, and that's why I felt like that despair for Cooper. I was like, oh my God, he's trapped there forever. What's going to happen? And I found this depressing. But the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about the fact that the giant, like the White Lodge, I mean, the image on the screen is the Palmer house. So they've been keeping an eye on this house for a bit, I reckon. So now I'm convinced that it's actually the White Lodge that's been removing Laura for on good. Maybe kind of working not against Cooper, but I don't think they told Cooper everything he needed to know. I think they just told him what he needed to know, and he's a bit surprised now. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm positive. Now I'm thinking, but that's the thing though, is the glass half full or half empty? And they're definitely playing with that ambiguity. And some people are going to take a long time before they maybe get to that perspective. Maybe they won't. Maybe, it's up to everybody. But for me, I'm hopeful that, they're not over with the journey. I don't think she'll just wake up now that the the lights are off. But
right. Let me throw this out there because Mandy, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to have to go into a little diatribe for a second, so just bear with me. Bellajar Girl in the chat says, I love the name Carrie Page, by the way, because she is carrying the other page of the diary with her. And Stephen Clark says, what's on that other page? Okay. Let me break this down for you, folks. Hawk is wrong. In that scene he's talking to the sheriff about, there is not one page left. Okay, he is wrong. I love the character of Hawk, but apparently when evil Cooper is about to kill everybody in the sheriff's station, he's too busy in the bathroom or something like that, because he shows up in the last. What I missed, everybody. Hawk is entirely wrong. There are not 4 pages. I believe there's 6. Am I wrong? I think there's 6, because there's the 3 he found at the crime scene, right? Donna was given one by Harold Smith, so that's 4, and then we have 2 more that that they found in the bathroom, which are not part of her diary, by the way. Those were written on an entirely different piece of paper. Because why? Because Laura gave her diary to Harold Smith before Annie came to her. So that's 6. So if there's 1 more, that's the 7th page. So Hawk is entirely wrong. And yes, if you go back and you rewatch the whole series, you'll be able to see how wrong he is. Keep track of how many pages there are. There are not 4 pages. So anyway, it drives me nuts because, there's a lot of smart Twin Peaks people out there who know, Cooper disappeared in this part and then he said this in this scene. They can't keep track of the diary pages. Drives me nuts.
Well, I'm one of them. I can't count. I hardly passed my maths in high school. So sorry.
No. Anyway, no, I tease, but I see message board people going, oh, well, she had the last page of the diary. Maybe she had the 7th page, but it's not the 4th page. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, but going back to that Fire Walk With Me scene that we saved Laura and James in the woods, here's what made me just giddy as a little schoolboy. Is they cut to Cooper watching them, right? And they show his point of view of Laura and James over there. We get some stand-in actors over there. Now they could cut back to Cooper at any point to cut out dialogue of Laura and James, and they do a couple times. So I was very keen to watch this. What are they going to leave in, and what are they going to kind of skate around? First thing, first time in these 18 hours, Donna Hayward's name is mentioned. Boom. Big. That's big. Because Lynch easily could have cut that line out or just, cut to Cooper during that whole line. Second of all, what else does she say? Bobby killed a guy.
I know, right?
Killed a guy.
I know.
Right?
He's going to lose his job.
So what's going to lead us into whatever they come up with next? That is going to come back. We've been saying, how is Bobby a deputy at the sheriff's station when he murdered, yes, a corrupt deputy, but he still murdered somebody. How is he there? And James Hurley, who is part of the Bookhouse Boys that grooms you to become a deputy, becomes a Great Northern security guard.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. But one thing I do like is that if Cooper is playing around with the time, some people have suggested that maybe that might be a reason why there's so many issues with time jumps in the original series, or not in the original, in this return. How some people are here 1 second, they're not here the next second. Also, when they drive back into town, the Double R to go sign is missing off the Double R diner. So, there's little things in there. I will say this. This is going to shock a lot of you because I'm not endorsing it, but this series and the way it's playing with time, it does. Oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this. It does make me want to look again at the Mark Frost book. Doesn't mean that I agree with it, or it doesn't mean that I like it, but I think there's a little bit more now that we kind of know what this series was. I think you can look at that book with the proper context. I think it was a huge mistake to release that book prior to the season. I really do, because all it did was, and some people really liked it, but it frustrated people and made people go, what's the point of this? I love the idea that Mark Frost's newest book is coming out after the series, The Final Dossier. That to me seems more like that's going to be a really interesting book. And even if it's not, even if it's terrible, at least
why would it be terrible? It won't be terrible.
Well, we don't know.
Okay. But I'm hopeful.
I'm just saying, if it's terrible, at least the series gives us context for it, as opposed to like, okay, this is the first piece of Twin Peaks media we've gotten in over 25 years, and it's a textbook about nothing.
That's not fair. I've only read a couple of pages. I'm really not ahead, but I think it's super cool how I feel like I have access to kind of Dale Cooper's old files, or whoever, whichever archive man somewhere. It feels like you're part of the investigation. It introduces you to Tammy, and I haven't seen it myself, but I read somewhere, isn't it in that book that you hear about the ceremonies that 100 years ago they used to do to bring out some evil or some,
right? And that's where that's where the sex stuff comes in from the motel.
Yeah.
Right.
So, if we were clever, we might have thought about looking at that book during season 3 earlier than today. But anyway, I'm just defending my good friend, Mark Frost.
Well, I love Mark Frost too, but that doesn't mean, he's, is sending out.
I haven't finished the book, so I'll review it eventually on my channel. How's Annie?
not everything they do is a gold shovel, let me tell you. We got our frog moth in this horrible book, the Welcome to Twin Peaks book from 1991.
Yeah.
Look at Mandy's face. That's like the only book I was never able to get, and now it's like $500 on eBay. So
you're missing nothing with this book.
But it's still, well, there's a frog moth in it. So what does it say?
Nothing. It says Chinook legends describe the appearance long ago of an ancestress of the Frog Clan. They tell of a house floating in the middle of a lake. On the house sits a woman, her knees, breasts, eyebrows, and the backs of her hands covered with flying frogs. Ever since that time, the flying frog has been viewed as a special crest.
That's it?
That's it.
There's no context as to why it's in a Twin Peaks book?
There's no context why there's anything in this Twin Peaks book. This is one of the most worthless books in the history of mankind. And yet I bought it at the time because I had to have everything Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
But now I'm very careful. Like I don't, I used to, when I was a kid, there was a magazine that had the TV guide. Here's the TV guide. Cheers, about them bringing it back. I bought the TV guide just for this little article. I'm not like that anymore. But yeah, no. Anyway. But yeah, no, I mean, I liked aspects of Mark Frost's book. The problem I have with it, it was like 300, 400 pages. And it was like, you had to get through 65 pages to get to anything remotely interesting. And I said at the time that it felt like it was a history book that Mark Frost was writing, and then decided to just pepper some Twin Peaks stuff in there just so that it would sell better. Which I'm sure went over very well with him when he saw that review. But
well, see, and I still haven't even gotten, I've just gotten to New Mexico and with Dougie and all that kind of stuff. Like, I haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. I'm still at the really, really boring, tedious stuff. And I can't get through it. and I can't, I'm not one of those people that can flip pages ahead just to get to good stuff. I have to go through the whole thing. So
Right.
It's,
well, there's people in the
hard.
chat saying that, the book was interesting. It's Mark Frost would be a great teacher. Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. If you guys love the book, you guys love the book. I mean, but I'm free to have my opinion too. I remember I posted my opinion and I almost got like destroyed in the Twin Peaks community. And it was like, well, I got to be honest. I can't just be like, everything's great, everything's a masterpiece. I mean, there's no, I mean, if I felt like it was, believe me, I would totally be saying it. But again, that makes me want to go back again and look at it, because now I have some context of the series, as opposed to, well, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he was playing around with that. And it seemed like at the time, the general consensus, at least amongst the people that were on these podcasts, was that the book was written in a way to hide Annie, because there's no mention of her, and the dates in a way link up. Everything just kind of works to make it look like there's some sort of conspiracy to kind of hide her. And again, maybe that's still something in there, but but again, if Cooper never went back to Twin Peaks, and does that mean Annie Blackburn never came to town? I don't know. You know what I mean? Whatever. So, I mean, you could talk about these things all day long.
But see, and I like what you said earlier, though, that if Annie had been waiting for him outside the lodge at Glastonbury Grove instead of Diane, now that would have made up for so much stuff. Just because Diane, Diane was gone. She was in the lodge. Leave her there. Like,
well, not only that, but when Diane disappeared from the motel, I love Laura Dern. I could care less that she disappeared from the motel. Yeah. I was like, finally, we can get back to the story now.
Well, yeah, it's like it's 5 minutes of her face, and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, I love her too. She's amazing. She's an incredible actress, but this isn't the Laura Dern movie. It's Twin Peaks. Like, go away. Go away. Yeah. I'm done with you.
I agree. When they showed her, I think that she's great when she's introduced. Is Diane? I think she's great. I think she's great in the final episode of Diane with Diane, or in the when she does that big confession scene to them in the room.
Oh yeah.
But I think there was long stretches in the series where they kind of waste her talent, and they just she just shows up for one scene, says "F you," and then we're out. It's like she became like a one-note joke for several episodes. And then all of a sudden, we're supposed to be fully embracing her character. And we don't even know who Diane is. We'd never even met real Diane. We've only met Tulpa Diane. Mm-hmm. Right? So now all of a sudden, we're supposed to just accept them in this like romantic relationship when, look, for a lot of people, I understand like, people want the Audrey thing and all that stuff. But the way the series is, Cooper went into the Black Lodge to get Annie.
Yeah.
Right? He didn't go in there to save Laura. He went in there to get Annie.
She wasn't even missing. So, Diane, how did Diane... Oh, no, we know. Sorry, I got confused.
Right? I mean, again, so he went in there to get Annie. When he comes out, he should be like, well, let me close this relationship if I'm going to go off with Diane. It almost made me think that like him and Diane were like getting it on in the Red Room or something.
Yeah.
While he was there for 25 years. With Laura watching on the couch going, meanwhile, seriously, I mean, it seemed like there was like a big party going on in that Red Room. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I think David Lynch is a genius. I think Mark Frost, when they work together, is definitely a genius as well. I like a lot of his standalone stuff too, but I think they work really well together. Mm-hmm. But they did one thing in this series that I cannot forgive them for, that I think they completely failed on every level. And if I ever met them in person, they said, what do you don't like about the series? I'd be like, number one, this. They completely wasted Ray Wise.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And my feeling about that is he says, find Laura twice, basically the same scene with a different maybe shot. Why couldn't they have utilized him as well as the one-armed man trying to reach Dougie? Mm-hmm. I would have loved to have seen instead of just the one-armed man, you know, saying don't die, don't die. If it had been Leland as well trying to get through to Dougie.
Yeah.
I think something like that.
Yeah.
If he was trying to help guide that, or I don't know. I just think that Ray Wise is too talented of an actor. He was you know, totally in support of Twin Peaks coming back for years before Twin Peaks was popular and coming back. He's the one that David Lynch confirmed to, saying the town's still there, Ray. You may be dead, but we'll work around it. Well, they didn't try hard enough, apparently, to work around it. They just left him in a chair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, his character seems broken. You know, he's very weak, and I think he's just kind of gone insane once he got into the Red Room. So I don't.
But it's not the doppelganger Leland. That was Leland.
I know, but still, exactly. Leland is the one with the soul, and I think like realizing all that he's done during his life, kind of like witnessing his own behavior, it just broke him. So all he can say now is find Laura with the weird, like squinty eyes. That's it. It's sad, but it's yeah.
Listen, and there, you know, a couple of little things here. I think big mistake to not once name drop Wyndham Earle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a huge mistake. They didn't even have to like do a big thing about it. They could have just said, I mean, I know he wasn't, but they're rewriting history a little bit. I mean, they could have dropped his name when they mentioned all those other names with the Blue Rose Task Force.
Yeah.
They could have. Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's things like that, because it's very clear to me that even though Bob is in the doppelganger, Bob also took Wyndham Earle's soul in that final episode of season 2. I mean, the doppelganger is running around with Wyndham Earle's briefcase, for God's sake. You know, so it seemed like to me that once the doppelganger came out and caused all this trouble, that he went and, you know, ransacked Wyndham Earle's cabin, took what he needed, and out he went. So I think it was just kind of a mistake to just kind of, you know, I think they should have mentioned it at least once.
Yeah, and it is weird because, I mean, yeah, they're trying to they work so much with Firewalk with Me. They include scenes from it. They remaster them, all these things. They tie loose ends in, but when you're actually dealing with the actual show, two of the biggest characters, at least, you know, for the second season, is Wyndham Earle and Annie, and those are the two that are never. Well, Annie's mentioned once, but nothing's ever done with it, and the information's incorrect anyway.
Well, Pineapple Squid says in the chat, I think David Lynch hated Wyndham Earle. That's completely wrong, because David Lynch works with the character of Wyndham Earle in at least 2 of the episodes he directs for season 2. So, just want to throw that out there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's it. It's just, I mean, Wyndham Earle was a great character. Kenneth Welsh is spectacular.
And people assumed that we were going to get a name drop because he was the first guest booked at the UK Twin Peaks Festival. Like, why would you book #1 Kenneth Welsh at the UK Twin Peaks Festival if he's not, you know, if they're not going to bring up Wyndham Earle for the new series at all? It's kind of strange.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that are
and it's okay. People say that he didn't like Wyndham Earle. Let me throw this out there. I'll throw out a controversial statement. At this point, I don't think David Lynch likes Audrey Horne.
Oh.
Yes, Sherilyn Fenn had time commitments, couldn't make Firewalk with Me. He recasted Donna Hayward. He didn't recast Audrey Horne. I don't
think he could do that.
Yeah.
Do you think Audrey could be with a new face on?
He doesn't have any problems flipping everybody else around. So he takes Audrey out of the script completely. She doesn't even make it into a draft. And now he does what he does to her character in the series. You have to just question, does he hate Audrey Horne? Does Mark Frost and David Lynch, because when the Twin Peaks was about to come on, a couple of days before it approached, there were so many people on Facebook and Twitter that I know, they were saying, I can't wait for the Audrey Cooper romance to kick in. And I said, not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And I didn't expect what we got. But I said they are never going to put Audrey and Cooper together. Ever, ever, ever. It's never going to happen. They never were supposed to be a romantic item, even though, yes, they tried to make it for season 2. That would have been a big mistake. Doesn't mean that you have to agree or disagree with the Andy Blackburn thing, but they never were supposed to. They can't have a scene with Cooper sitting on a bed with Audrey, telling her about what I want, what I need, and all this other stuff, and then have him go a week later in time, go, let's go, Audrey. So,
well, yeah, and not to mention the fact that she was illegal. Like that's
actually,
what I always think of.
She was 18. That's how they got around that.
Oh, was she?
Yeah.
That's still borderline. I mean, we've got enough creepy stuff that we're dealing with in that. We don't need 18-year-olds and 30-year-olds too. But
and also, she was a young woman that had her whole life ahead of her. Do we really want to bring her down with Cooper and his Caroline issues? I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm. The Entertainment Weekly photo spread was the worst thing that they could have done. Like that, it's almost embarrassing. And the video that they did, that 40-minute, I couldn't even watch it.
Nothing was embarrassing. Embarrassing.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
They're talking to James. I think they talked to James Marshall for a minute, and they're something like relating it to like 90210, and I'm just like. What?
But they spent 3 minutes talking about the history of Michael Onkeen in that video, and he's not even in the movie. He's not even in The Return.
Yeah. They
showed him skating around naked in Slapshot, and I'm like, is Michael Onkeen going to show up in this series? That's what kind of gave me hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful, and just putting Cooper and Audrey together with her looking up at him like that, it was the most ridiculous thing, because that's not the show.
No, and that was fan fiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I didn't even like how they had them in their costumes either. Like, I didn't like how they had Laura in her dress. Like, it was just wrong.
But I have to admit, going back to the part 17, who would have thought that a late 40-year-old woman put a wig on, they could make her in that black and white footage look almost like a 17-year-old again.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing. As soon as I saw that, I mean, I can't even watch that without crying, because it's so beautiful, and it's just like, oh, there she is.
Because they play the Laura music, and they have her body go out like Cooper does in the White Lodge and everything like that. It's so well done, and I thought,
yeah.
I was shocked when it ended, because I was thinking, what on earth are we going to do for 18? But I honestly, I was thinking that we were going to not necessarily destroy the Black Lodge, but I thought that maybe they were going to close the portal or something, where there was going to be no more interference from this thing.
Never.
Mm-hmm.
It will never happen.
But even too, like the way that Bob just kind of, all of a sudden, a good couple of kicks, and oops, he just bursts into a bunch of bubbles and goes up to it was very fast.
And also, I mean, look, the catch you with my death bag line coming back is kind of sad. It's just kind of sad.
Yeah, he doesn't have a bag. He doesn't even have any arms to hold the bag.
No, there's no man in a smiling bag. That's Glenda the Good Witch coming at Freddie. It should have been Cheryl Lee in the bubble, and in a competing bubble, going, don't turn away from love, sailor. Don't turn away from love.
Oh God.
But
can I make a confession about something?
What, you gonna talk to me about your romance with your new Facebook friend that pounded Bob into another world?
No way.
Oh.
Not at all. Sorry. No, I was actually talking about Fire Walk With Me, the footage, when we see that scene. As much, I mean, you guys, because you're like way, you're like long-term, you're like long-term fans.
That's called nerdy?
Well, I'm nerdy as well. I'm different. I'm like a younger nerd, maybe.
You're a hipster nerd?
Yeah. Or not. I don't know. I don't know. I'm uncategorized.
You're not that much younger than us.
Oh, I know, but I mean, as a fan, because I discovered this series like in this century instead of in the last century. I was I didn't speak English when I was 8, so I couldn't understand the series. But yeah, I don't have maybe that attachment to Fire Walk with Me as much. But I found it interesting that they were using it. But in my heart, knowing that the clock is ticking, I was like, I need new footage. You know, I was thinking, while we're looking at this, I know I'm not going to get answers about all the modern questions that I don't have answers for. So I got to say, after like a few minutes, I was like, okay, like enough with the old footage. Although I see what they're doing, I get it. But for me, I was kind of like, I need new information, give me new data, you know? So that's it. That was my confession. It's not that bad.
Well, let me throw this out to you guys, because people are talking about Freddie, the superhero, showing up. Everyone moves up to the sheriff's station when the big showdown is going to happen. Okay, I thought, and I mentioned this on a previous video, that Freddie was there basically to start busting some woodsman butt. Right? I didn't think he was going to be taking out Bob. I thought when the woodsmen were touching Doppelganger in there, I thought they were going to turn and start attacking everybody in there, trying to squash their heads. And Freddie was going to be in there having to defend them while Cooper took on Bob.
Yeah.
In some way. All right. That's what I thought he was going to be used for. I didn't think he was going to be Cooper standing back. Get him, Freddie. You know?
Yeah.
And it's just,
you got this.
You got this. I've been after this guy for 27 years, but take him, Freddie.
Yeah.
Right. This is the most anticlimactic thing ever. Next to mano a mano, Cooper versus Wyndham Earl. I will take your soul. Okay, go for it. And that's the end of the struggle. Great, good job. So glad you can write a dramatic ending like that. But notice how everybody's up there. James, Freddie, Nido, Sheriff, Andy, Lucy, Hawk coming in, pulling up his pants from being in the bathroom. And come on, they build up Hawk through this entire series as being like the go-to guy. He's showing up at Glastonbury Grove. He's flashing the light. I have a living, breathing map here, Sheriff Truman.
Yeah, the log lady messages, the fact that Cooper told him he'd like for him to find him if he gets lost one day.
Yeah, and then he comes running in at the end. What I missed, guys? Like,
oh yeah.
Okay. Anyway, everybody's in this room except Zombie from the jail. Now, so
and
that
Chad.
Okay, well, who cares? But the reason why I bring that up though with Chad too is they are connected. A lot of people have said that the Zombie only repeats what Chad says. Nobody mentions anything else about Zombie in there.
That's not true.
What?
Because he repeats Nido.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, she's a dolphin. And
the monkey dolphin.
Yeah, and I'm surprised I haven't seen any think pieces online saying, okay, Diane's been appropriating Japanese culture through this whole thing. Now they're saying that inside every Japanese blind woman is a white woman. I'm surprised I'm surprised I haven't seen any think pieces about.
I've seen something like this. Somebody commented like, "What about yellow washing using like a white actress to portray an Asian woman?" I didn't reply. I was shocked.
I agree with people in the chat. We've been talking about this for a while before the show came on. I totally agree with you. They should have used Ray Wise as Bob in this series. I was really hoping for that. You could do the Frank Silva thing, but I wouldn't have minded if the doppelganger looked in the mirror and saw Ray Wise. I would have been okay with that. Because what else you gonna do? Well, apparently you're just gonna have Ray Wise sit in a chair like this. Fine, Laura, and that's it. Great. There's your two lines. Anyway, but yeah, no. So Zombie doesn't show up up there. I mean, they take everybody else up there to save their life. That would have been great though if Robert Knepper was up there saying it's one for the grandkids, and the camera pans over and Zombie's like, yeah, it's one for the grandkids.
Oh, nice.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because of the sandwiches. He didn't want him to like use his hands to pick sandwiches on the sandwich tray, so that everyone would actually get contaminated with his goo. It's not very hygienic.
Which still, like, we have no idea. This guy's like literally spewing engine oil from his mouth. He has some weird string tied around his face. He's got a hole in his cheek. Like, what happened to this guy? You know, is this part of the drug thing? What happened to Red? Not like I really care, but there's so many questions.
Well, the great thing about and I just certainly don't really endorse this, but the great thing about a series where there's a lot of loose threads that really seemingly go nowhere makes the people making fan cuts really easy to do because you can cut out quite a bit. But yeah, a lot of people, of course, are still thinking that the zombie is Billy in there.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I saw one meme that something entirely different, but one meme of Laura whispering in Cooper's ear, and then it had the next shot. The next shot was Sherilyn Fenn. The next shot was Sherilyn Fenn saying, "You're not gonna tell me what she said."
Oh, that one, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I relate to that. But then I sometimes I like to imagine really silly things that she could be telling Cooper. So I'm like, I love mac and cheese, and like a bunch of useless information because he's kind of been trolling us. So why not do it completely 100%?
But I tell you, that video that we had that was going around with her talking about Sonny Jim, that was super convincing.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Well, you know what she was whispering to him? She was saying, "You need to check the bushes at my house to know what year it is." Because apparently that's the big theory. That's how Cooper knew what year is it. Apparently her shrubbage outside her house was
yeah, no.
Or
not at all.
That's probably the wrong word, but whatever. I don't care. People are now in the chat arguing about Billy Zane.
All right. Oh, that's surprising.
What are they arguing about?
Saying that that her wondering where Billy is, or who to Billy, that she's talking about Billy Zane, that she's breaking the fourth wall.
Oh no. No. That I would have loved to see, like, excuse me, if I could write an Audrey storyline, I would have loved to see her happy with John Justice Wheeler. Like, why the heck not? I just think that would have been nice. I want somebody to end up happy in this bloody show.
Yeah.
I don't even, honestly, the way it is, I'm not trying to be, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying, getting to. I don't even know if they ended up happy, because she says, hang on, Ed, I'm going to talk to this guy over here. And we know that they kind of had some sort of weird like thing going on, but then they do that long shot of Ed like this. Right.
He's doing Cam.
Right. And then she comes up behind him with as if he's imagining his ending, how he wants it to be, rather than what.
Well, we never see that. We never see them again. So who knows? But yeah, I mean,
Shelley is the proof, right? Shelley is the proof that it's happening. She's responding.
Shelley's on drugs
Shelley's
from Red.
Dum-dum, so
okay.
Shelley is terrible in this. I mean, Machen is amazing, but man, what they did to her character, I'm going to be mad about that for a really long time.
Well, I think I really liked what they did with Norma later in the season, but for the first half of the season, it was a waste of a character. She looked like she was just this jealous, person looking at Shelley's life or something like that. Yeah. Shelley's really living the dream there, Norma. And I gotta say, I know people liked it, but it was so, I'm sorry, it's ridiculous, the fact that Shelley's jumping on Becky's car or no.
Oh, yeah.
that scene is all of a sudden becomes the Dukes of Hazzard out of nowhere. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, does it work? Sure. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying it is a little gratuitously lame.
Yeah, I think that was the point, though, wasn't it? I like to think so.
That might be the point, but does that make it automatically good?
Well, to people like me, yeah, because I'm a bit weird, but I don't know.
I'm just saying. It's like,
good point.
Little things like that. I mean, Lynch can do a lot of things on purpose. It doesn't make it successful.
Yes, and I think now too that we've seen the whole thing. We've had our hearts broken with certain elements of part 18. At least one lens of the rose-colored glasses can come off and be like, okay, let's actually look at this now. Like, yes, it's fantastic. I loved it, but I could still pick it apart.
Well,
We all could.
George in the comments says that Red could be the grandson, since obviously the Tremans and were brought
I
up.
would have loved to see that. Nope, he's gone. That's it.
Like, it would have been great if the door opened or something like that, and he was with, you know,
Yeah.
with them.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Or he was the husband that she's talking to behind the door or something. Like something. You know,
Right.
him being a Tremond or a Chalfont. That would be so fantastic.
Like, it would have been great if, like, she screams, the lights go out, and all of a sudden you hear the black dog runs at night, and all of a sudden Red's out there just bouncing around with a jumpy nose, just circling them in the street. Some people in the chat are upset that we're now daring to talk about some things we found a little silly. That everything was great and wonderful in the series, and there wasn't one bad thing in it.
Well, if you've watched all of the videos or any of the videos, you know, I mean, we're obsessed with this crap. I almost cried like 20 minutes ago when I'm talking about Laura because I can't even contain myself about it. But
I'm a Twin Peaks apologist. Even the things that I like bash or say is silly or dumb, I'll defend in some. It was like okay, for instance, you know how like family members will pick on each other, but if somebody said anything rude about your brother or sister, you'd like pound them. Yeah. If somebody said anything rude to me about Shelly jumping on the hood, I'd be like, you don't understand Twin Peaks, okay? But we are amongst friends here.
Yeah, exactly.
So I can love and bash Twin Peaks all I want in this conversation, but if anyone else out there bash Twin Peaks, oh no.
Well, I feel like Twin Peaks is bashing Twin Peaks, you know? I think they have a sense of humor that's turned towards their own story at times. I do feel like they don't, I don't know, I like the silliness. It's part of what I like because it goes from silly to like completely ridiculous. By the way, did you notice that like hairpin that Bad Cooper has where he gets to the sheriff station in part 17? Like, I laughed so much when I saw this. I'm like, how girly is this? And then I was like, oh, it's like the heart of the ocean. And, you know, I like that silly stuff because it cracks me up. So I like this and I like the deep stuff.
George says anything in the return is still better than Little Nicky. George, Red was Little Nicky. All right. No comment from you, huh?
Well, it could. I mean, they could pick it if they do a future project. They could definitely pick up some of those unanswered points. And
listen, we have Dougie eating a piece of chocolate cake for 20 minutes in the series, but James and Bobby couldn't say hey to each other when he's putting him in the jail cell. I mean, that would have been a nice touch. I've said it before on our watch-alongs, but couldn't we have just gotten, hey, Bobby, hey, James?
A bit of small talk, yeah.
I don't need a long conversation. I don't, Bobby.
Just an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Something.
Exactly. Like,
and
Bobby.
Yet Shelley's the one who acknowledges him, and they've never been in any type of scene together ever.
No, they never like talked, but they've been in a scene together. I mean, I would have loved to have seen of like Bobby bringing some dinner into James or something like that, going, remember that time I put cocaine in your gas tank and framed you? Remember that time you made a scene and you charged me at the funeral? And you know, and I you know, and I was screaming at you, you are dead. When they slowed that down in the original series, there were fans out there thinking Bobby was Bob because of the slow down voice. They're like, oh, they're tipping their hand here.
Oh no,
they're definitely not tipping their hand there. So yeah, I would have loved to have seen a little bit of acknowledgement of the past. Again, though, let's play around with the idea that Cooper screwed around with the timeline, that maybe Bobby and James don't know each other.
No, forget it. No.
Okay.
No. I'm working on a theory that will take me a very, very long time to write out because everything about the show is so complicated. But I think that there's something about, and many people have touched on this already too, but when Cooper's face is superimposed over the screen, I think that's Nido or I think Nido is Judy or whatever. and that she's the one that's messing things up, that she's the
Whoa.
evil. She's trying to stop different things. I don't have it all in my head yet because I literally have to make like charts because it's way too confusing. But that's what leads me to think that there could be a fourth season to go into what actually happens at the sheriff's station at the point where Cooper and Naito meet, because she appeared to want to destroy him when in part 3, when they're up on the bell and she's flicking switches and smiling at him like, screw you, Cooper. And then she gets whisked off and stuff like that. There's something evil about her. I don't trust her. I don't like her. The fact that they made her Diane I did not like at all. But she's messed up with the timeline, I think. But that's all I can say on that because I haven't worked it out yet. So we'll see.
Bella Jar Girl says, I think Bobby had feelings for Laura. Maybe not true love, but she still brings back memories for him. Yes, memories of shooting a deputy on the middle of the woods. Honestly, I know a lot of people found that like really moving, and I did too, where like, he sees Laura's picture and he's like, oh, brings back some old memories. There was a little pessimistic side of me thinking, oh God, they're digging up this whole crime thing again. They're going to discover I killed somebody. I thought more of it, but that was at a time when I thought Bobby was still selling drugs in Twin Peaks, and because when the sheriff first talks to him, he said he starts mentioning like, oh, I've been going through all these checking all the trails, and he goes, oh, the known trails. Oh yeah, because Bobby knows how the drugs came in and out of Twin Peaks, so right. And I thought maybe that was a reference to maybe he was like still dealing under the guise of being the deputy. Obviously, he wasn't. As far as we know, but I was hoping that the Laura Palmer mystery, that they had her picture on the table out there. I was hoping that there would have been a reference to him nervous about maybe uncovering something else about his past, rather than just having him staring at an androgynous kid, puking in a car while a fat woman screams. So
that was cool. I don't know what it was, but it was cool.
No, it's a really good scene. It's it's here and gone, and there it is. So.
Yep.
Like I don't think there's anything bad really in this series. That I think everything was very well written and directed. Everything was great. But you can definitely tell. And again, I'm not complaining. Because I love having as much as we have, but if you're going to be completely honest, there is filler in this thing. Mm-hmm. It's not. It's not all killer and no filler. It's a lot of filler with some killer, but when it killed big.
Yeah.
But listen, if you wanted to be ruthless with this thing, there's probably 5 hours you could cut like that.
Yeah.
And I said that weeks ago, and someone wanted to punch me in the face over that, but it's actually true. Like there's a lot of things. If you can segregate different sections into completely different TV shows, like Dougie in Las Vegas, or Sam and Tracy, or Mitchum Brothers. Like there's tons of stuff that would make great shows by themselves, but when they're all incorporated in this together,
people are mad. They're getting mad at me now. They're saying Cameron's hating tonight.
Oh no.
Bella Jar Girl says, "Are you drinking, Cameron?" Laugh out loud. Fat woman ? Let's see. Other people are saying. Jan says maybe the filler's there so things sync up.
The fillers were where the poetry was. I found, like the sweeping scene that was endless, but it was beautiful.
If I was doing a fan cut, I'd leave that in. I think it's great because it just shows the mundaneness of the Roadhouse, and then all of a sudden the phone rings and Jean-Michel takes the call. Bella Jar Girl says, "I'm laughing my ass off. I still love this channel." You should. I mean, we're not saying anything bad. You can't. I'm sorry. Like I've always said that this is the channel where we're going to discuss everything Twin Peaks, and there's some days where you are going to just love everything under the sun. And there's some days like today where I'm still, grasping at what we just watched last Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I'm still going through the highs and lows and trying to sort it all out. And so, yeah, I'm going to talk about things I love. I'm going to talk about things I didn't like, but that doesn't mean the things I didn't like, I won't like next week. I mean, I've seen some episodes where I was like, that was all right. And then on the rewatch, I was like, oh, it got better. I think if you go back and you rewatch episodes 1 through 4, they're so strong. And, like the first time you see part 3, you're like, well, this is the weirdest thing Lynch has done in a while. And then you go back and watch part 3, it's pretty straightforward, compared to part 8. Things like that. So, our relationship to Twin Peaks is much like Hawk's Map that never shows up again. It's a living, breathing thing.
And talking about it helps as well. I think, it's fine that you're voicing your questions. Like for me, I am disappointed that they haven't answered all the things I've been like breaking my head trying to figure out and solve on my own, at home. And then I'm like, oh, I was just losing my time, was I? But I can't think like this. So that's why I'm like, no, I've enjoyed everything. Like I haven't enjoyed every second of it, but I don't know. Depending on the day as well, you're going to change your mind about stuff. So.
Okay. You know what? I just made the ending even 10 times better. It just popped in my head.
Ta-da.
You know how they could have made it 10 times better? Same ending. Not changing anything. You ready for this?
Yes.
Oh, this is it. I'm getting goosebumps. I swear to God, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this. All right. How do I say this in a way that like I will come out of my mouth in a way that will just be as mind-blowing as it is right now in my head. When Cooper and Laura or, Carrie go or Richard, whatever I don't know who they are. They go to the door and I understand, Lynch and Frost being very complimentary to the people that live there that, let them shoot there. It's wonderful. They gave him that night. I think she did a really great job for being a non-actress.
Awesome.
She did a great job.
Yeah.
Great job. So I don't want to say that what I'm about to say is taking away from anything she did, because I think she did a great job. Mm-hmm. This is how you make it even better. Mandy, when I tell you, you are going to scream. You are going to scream. You ready? Yeah. Do you know who, if we are talking about the Tremans there, do you know who should have been answering the door? It should have been the old lady from Mr. Jackpot's, with Red being her son.
Oh!
And they're the Tremans.
Whoa.
Now that would have been, pardon the words, mind fucking blowing.
Yeah, that would have blurred the lines even more.
Okay. Yeah. I'm on board with that. I didn't need to scream. I'm on board. Give me a second. Yep. Yeah. That's good. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. The fact that they used a non-Twin Peaks person for that. And yeah, she was fantastic. Like she was great. She had good energy. Like she was just like, yeah, she was awesome. I think her name's May or Mary or something like that. Right. She's great.
But can you imagine that?
My gosh.
Because then it would have tied the whole thing together. Would have brought in Las Vegas with Twin Peaks with the alternate reality.
Yep.
It just came to me, and I was just like, because I mean, she's not Frances Bay, obviously, but you could get a similar thing, and that would have just brought all three realities together in one final scene.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's good. Write that down.
Yeah. New theory. spread around Facebook tonight. Oh, 100Z Mad says meh.
Come on.
Stephen Clark says, nah, doesn't work for me. See, you know what? We got a lot of haters in the live chat. That's what I think. See, some of these people, I'm not saying you guys, but there's a lot of people out there who won't like any ideas you say, because you're not David Lynch.
Yeah.
That's the truth of it. So, and one day, mark my words, one day there will be another Twin Peaks property, whether it be a series or movie or whatever. It'll never be a feature film. There'll never be another Twin Peaks feature movie, but there might be another movie or 6-episode series, and it might still take place in this world that David Lynch and Frost will be executive producers on, and that'll be it. And there'll be other writers and other directors. It's going to happen. So you have to make do with that. It is going to happen in our lifetime.
We hope so.
Yeah.
You hope so? You
Yeah.
hope they come back with like new writers and directors?
Well, no, maybe not that part, but worst case scenario, that could be a good idea. If these guys are not going to be directly involved in it, I'll take that as a plan B.
Again, we don't know what happened in those conversations. Maybe the 18 didn't even incorporate this 18. Maybe I don't know. It just feels like there's going to be something else.
Yeah.
And I really wouldn't want anybody I wouldn't want anybody else coming in, really. If you want to do like vignettes or something like that and have different stories on the side, like Hawk's origins or things like that, sure, that's fine. But if you're doing the actual show, it has to be the two of them.
It's going to be blasphemy, I know, for a lot of people, but Twin Peaks is too rich of a world to have it just be this. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah, plus they have to hurry. Everybody is going to die. Like all the actors are going to get old and die. There's enough.
No, but what I'm saying is every year at the Twin Peaks Festival, they do Twin Peaks Short Film Festival and stuff like that. So there's been fans doing these kind of short films for years.
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't mean you can like them or not like them, but I'm just saying that people have been doing films in this world for years. There's so much room to explore.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally that if Lynch and Frost are on board and you say, here's my idea, and they look at it and they go, this would work, maybe tweak a little this, a little of that, and you go, well, yeah, it still work, and they give it the blessing, I say go for it. I'm all right with that. There are other stories in this Twin Peaks world besides Twin Peaks. A lot.
But the best stories are going to come from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they have all the secrets and they know how the threads all tie in together. So
they really have the Bible of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
No, as long as they just oversee it. Can you imagine how great it would be if Jen Lynch did like an hour and a half piece of whatever it is she wanted to do in this world? I think that would be spectacular.
Wait, Belljar Girl says, I'm gonna barf Garmin Bosia, no Lynch and Frost, no Twin Peaks. All right, so then I guess you hate Fire Walk with Me. Well, sorry. I mean, I know she thinks Fire Walk with Me is a masterpiece, but Frost was not involved. So
no.
Philip Acker says Twin Peaks, Life on Mars, how Jeffries learned to stop worrying about Judy and love cream corn. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Did anyone else think, and chat people, please respond, but was that just over the top and bloody weird when he's like, it's slippery in here? I'm like, what is happening now?
Belljar Girl says,
so strange.
Lynch was involved.
Strange.
Lynch was involved in Fire Walk with Me, right? Of course. Mark Frost wasn't, though. And now people are thinking there's a fight going on between me and Belljar Girl. No, I was just making a joke. Come on, people. God, people get so... You know what? Seriously, people are still wound up so tight from the finale. They're just like, don't criticize a goddamn thing. Don't say anything.
It is, like Facebook and Twitter and stuff. Joel Bacco, by the way, who's fantastic. He's got the most amazing threads on his Twitter of all these conversations.
Is he possessed? I have to ask. I mean, he's on my podcast a lot, but the night of the finale, he publishes like a 1,200 word essay that is so spectacularly written and thought out that I'm like, what did you pause time? Like, is he Nido? And then I don't understand.
I didn't read that, but
no, it's
huge. I gotta
huge.
find it though. Yeah, he's awesome. Like, if you want good conversation, go check out those threads. But there's so much information right now. It's very overwhelming because we have to deal with our own thoughts and process our own things from what we've seen, not just 17 and 18. I think 17 was worth the 25-year wait, by the way. But the whole thing is as a piece by itself. And then every single person has a different theory about everything. We're all totally wrong, by the way. But it's so like, it's just, it's such a beautiful time, but it's super overwhelming and draining to go through all this stuff. We all need to like chill out for a bit.
Yeah.
Come back to it in a couple of weeks, process, and then start again. Maybe we won't be so antsy all the time. So.
Yeah, people are insisting that they're joking in the chat that we live inside the joke, but
Wow, that's nice. I love that quote. Good job.
Scooby D says, I've been reading a lot of different theories. I think the whole series is open to interpretation. No one theory is better than any other. People need to relax. Love.
Yeah. Just love the fact that we got Twin Peaks and we got Laura, and she's kind of safe, and it's great. And Pete was able to just go fishing. Like, did we ever think that we'd see something like that?
That's the other thing, though. They also, for whatever reason, and I have my own suspicions, they showed us Josie and Catherine.
Yeah.
They didn't have to show them. They could have just shown Pete walking, to go fishing. They purposely showed Josie. So that's what made me go, they're going to make Josie the noise and the Great Northern, which they never did. But I think it's interesting that there's I'm losing my train of thought here. But there's so much. Okay, here's the grand scheme of thing, in my opinion. Were there a lot of things that went nowhere in this series? Sure. However, you can think about those things. I don't think that they were badly done. Like when I think of filler, I think of things that are stupid, written badly, acted badly, and just felt like crap. Right? That's filler to me. Yes. In theory, a lot of the stuff, like I said, didn't go anywhere, but it wasn't filler because I was entertained while I was going through the journey. What makes it feel like filler in retrospect is because we now know the end game. But while you were going through it, it didn't feel like filler. That's what I'm saying.
It did build up. It did build up anticipation as to like, ooh, what does this mean? What does that mean? It did. None of this show was a waste of time. No part of it was a waste of time. Was some of it frustrating? Yes, but it wasn't a waste. Everything was beautiful. And when you've got the girls in the Roadhouse or different people and stuff like that, we're not talking like B units with a little known director or some kid out of school that's trying to just get this shot done. Like, David Lynch is still directing every single frame of this show, and it's important to him, and he's making it beautiful. And I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know.
But the funny thing about it is, and again, I'm going to get some pushback in the chat, but again, I kid. When you go back and rewatch part 1 and 2 now that the whole thing's over, I ain't got time for Sam staring at a box for 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like why are we sitting here for so long? And Tracy's bringing the coffee, and does it matter anymore? You know what I mean? It's like now that you know Endgame, do you need to go? Yes, on the first watch, sure, but I'm saying in retrospect, when you're sitting there, it's like we can just get through this. It's a great scene, it's great acting, it's great mood piece. Everything's great about it. I'm just saying, let's get to the meat of this thing. But like I said, but while there's a lot of stuff that ultimately went nowhere in terms of like actual like plotting, like Jerry Horne screaming at his foot, even though I understand about the appendages, blah blah blah. I'm just making a joke, but at the same time, this series takes nuggets that were in Fire Walk with Me and balloons them up into mythology that you can discuss forever now. Yeah. And I think the core story of a man split in two, and the fact that for a great amount of it, until Freddie showed up with the glove and started pounding Bob into the netherworld, they took it very seriously. When before we knew she was Tulpa Diane, when Diane goes into the prison and confronts the doppelganger, that's some serious shit going on.
Yeah.
The stuff with Gordon and Albert, you know, with the blue tint tarmac scene, you know,
Beautiful.
after they obligatory pan down to Christabel's butt. No, but those scenes are so well. I mean, like Gordon, I never knew could be like that much of a three-dimensional character. Nor could I ever imagine David Lynch like actually like being an actor.
Yeah.
Like
and a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I love him in the original series, but the original series, it's a great character, but also kind of a joke as well.
It's campy.
Yeah, it's cute. It's adorable when he's like sitting there with the red face going, I want another piece of pie, Shelly, you know, that type of thing. Yeah. You know, that's the, you know, but the scary thing is that scene where he's like, Coop, that's the kind of girl that makes you wish you spoke a little French. And then he's with like some French prostitute in this series, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, and then of course, you know, he makes that joke about not needing Viagra in this final episode, which is like, okay, get Lynch, we get it.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I love the fact that the storyline for the most part is treated very sincerely and very seriously, as ridiculous as it is. You know, the idea of, you know, one man versus himself. They did it in a way that did not come across campy for most of it. And the fact that Kyle rose to the challenge of playing so many different characters, and to the point where I didn't even comprehend. I mean, I knew it was the same person, but you can't comprehend that Dougie and the doppelganger are the same actor.
No.
First of all, his skin looks different. He's very leathery, and he just looks dirty and nasty and gross. and Dougie is like, you want to take him home and, you know, put him in your pocket forever.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, Kyle was just brilliant. I can't even talk about it. It was just so great.
Yeah. But I you know, one thing that I do want to say, and this is going to probably be like duh for a lot of you, but you know, because one of the things that we've been thinking about is like with Judy and the mother and all that, or Sarah Palmer, it's okay, when did this happen? Because, you know, was she always like this? You know, because was this Lynch's comment, the fact that she maybe have turned the other way and maybe not seen the signs of what was going on in the house with Leland and Laura? You know, did this happen like when she shows up in the season 2 finale saying, you know, I'm in the Black Lodge with Dale Cooper and all that to Major Briggs? But it seems, again, you could come up with all types of theories, but it seems like that part of her happens after the mother escapes out of the box in New York. She explodes out of the box, kills Sam and Tracy. And do you think that's when the mother like goes to Twin Peaks and gets inside Sarah Palmer fully?
I still think she's a frog moth girl. I'm convinced of that. I think it's been growing forever. And as I said before, I think Sarah is a character who's in denial psychologically. So all this evil she's been bottling up for a long time. And with age and all the tragedies and the vodka, she descended all right, you know?
Well, yeah, because the first time we hear, when it cuts back to that crazy scene of, you hear her like from the other seasons moaning in the background, and then like she charges Laura's picture and starts stabbing it. And of course, there's no mark on the picture. She cannot penetrate Laura's picture. First time it's happened, you know, when the scene starts, it occurs right after Laura is saved. And so I thought it was sort of like the evil that was in the house was dying, because I kept looking at the ashtrays, because it seemed like, I know I'm probably wrong, but it seemed at first, on a first watch, that the cigarettes were disappearing, almost like Sarah's pain was going away. But then it seemed like to come back even stronger than ever when she charges into the room and starts. But what's interesting, she smacks everything off the table except the Laura Donna picture. It's the only one that remains, is the strength of their friendship. A friendship so strong that Lynch doesn't even mention Donna in the series. But anyway, but yeah, anyway, but then she stabs the picture, and that scene is truly, I think, very scary stuff, because it makes you think of what's to come, and what's to come isn't as quite as scary as what we just saw, but it makes you think we're going to go into like some truly scary stuff, and instead we just get Cooper boiling some guns at a cowboy restaurant, but which is a great scene. It's a great scene, but it's a scene 20 minutes into the end of the finale where I'm like, ain't nobody got time for this.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I mean, like, you know, we tease, we have fun, but it's I wouldn't trade the summer for the world. I mean, it was so awesome just to kind of, I never thought that this was ever going to happen again. Not necessarily Twin Peaks, but the idea of watching a show, discussing a show amongst so many great people, and doing so many videos about it, and bringing all these people into the chat, and us going through it together. Because the first time we watched it, it was, while it was a wonderful, awesome, impactful thing in your life, it was almost like a self-contained thing, because you may have known a couple people in your life that watched it too. But for the most part, it was a pretty solitary experience going through the first series together. And when you saw Cooper look in the mirror at the end and it was Bob, and then it was 11 o'clock at night, and, you know, you had to go to bed because school was the next day, or, you know, it was like, this is, that was not how you wanted to go to bed. I mean, you wanted to, like, discuss with people what was going on. And of course, the internet was in its infancy at that time. So it was a different experience going through it with so many people from so many countries. And, you know,
thank God we can live this trauma collectively now. So that's helpful.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why Lynch was, you know, kept repeating, you know, we live inside the dream, because we're all thinking
we're all the dreamer.
Yeah. And in fact, listen, the series I think is wonderful. Yeah, there's things in there that I go, it's kind of funny, this here and that. But for the most part, I just adore this thing. That being said, I think that the conversations we all had with each other, with the chats, I don't know if it made the show, like, it made the show better, but I almost think that that was a core component of this summer, was all these discussions. If we didn't have that, I know I still would have really loved what I saw, but I don't think it would have been as strong as it was, given what we had to, because we, like you said, we experienced so much together, you know, that I almost think that these conversations and everything else that came with it strengthened the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
In many ways.
Yeah, you engage with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't just a show you watched. It was a show that the more work you put into each hour, the more you were benefited from.
Mm-hmm. It's like an English class when you would watch a movie, but you have the textbook to go with it too, with all the stuff that you need to learn about it. That's just what I'm thinking right now, that it was a great experience.
What was the song called at the end of when they were in the motel? When do you know what it was called? I'm sure someone in the chat probably knows, but
I don't remember. It's on the soundtrack, but
it is on the soundtrack.
Yeah,
I'm sure someone will throw it out there in a second.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you guys think that the whole Tremens, Alice, whatever, has got something to do with the noise that we hear in Sarah's kitchen after she freaks out at the grocery store? That's something that came to my mind after watching the show, that maybe they've been like living together a little bit without, like, they were making their way inside that house slowly. No thoughts?
It's interesting.
Can you say that again?
Oh, well, do you think that the noise that we hear in Sarah's kitchen a few episodes ago, you know, when a hawk goes to visit her and she's like, oh, what's that noise? That's just something in the kitchen. Remember that?
Yeah. Remember that.
It might, now that I've seen the ending, I was thinking maybe it's got something to do with the picture in Laura's room, the Tremond family I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, she was like slowly moving inside the house as the days were going by, but maybe not. I'm just like throwing that out like that.
What's interesting is the song called "My Prayer" by the Platters, and of course, when you look up the Platters, one of the original members of the Platters was somebody named David Lynch.
Whoa,
Wow.
cool.
And I think What the Flick mentioned this last night, and I can't remember what they were talking about, but they said something about the song choice in Part 18 was tied in, and it's by the Platters, but it was tied in with another group, or maybe it's not the Platters, I don't think, but the people who sing the song or did a version of the song is Richard and Linda. There's an actual like group they call Richard and Linda. So,
Oh.
yeah. Alonzo Duralde talks about it on the What the Flick review last night. So, yeah, wouldn't it have been cool if like at the end of the series too, like they showed if the treatment lady was like, oh, what's your name? Oh, Paige. Oh, okay. Oh, this was left for you. This would look this would look nice on your wall.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of Laura whispering in Cooper's ear, and that's how it ends.
Jeez.
They didn't realize the waiting room was actually like like one of those Polaroid booths you see at the fair with the 3-4 pictures.
Well, you know that lady that plays Alice.
Okay, here it is. Bell Jar Girl says, I saw it too. It was called Break the Light from the 80s by Richard and Linda Thompson. Oh, interesting. Weird.
What, that song samples the 50s song then? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think it's something else. I don't know.
Oh.
But Jan says, Cameron, have you seen that in Odessa, Texas? They have a statue of the world's largest jackrabbit. It was about the bunny. George says, I love that last shot of Cooper and Laura with the credits. I agree. I think it was really cool. And it seemed to be kind of a funny sort of middle finger in a way to the original series, because I don't, we all know Lynch and his revisionist history is like, oh, I never wanted Laura Palmer's murder solved. And I agree with that, but in terms of what he was saying, but don't give me Lynch. Come on. You couldn't have gone 5 years in Twin Peaks without solving that murder. He was saying that he was going to go 5 years without solving it. Yeah, right. Anyway, I don't think he liked the idea that Laura says, my father killed me. So I think now he's got her whispering in his ear again, only now we don't hear what she's saying.
She loves mac and cheese, I told you.
She loves mac and cheese. She whips her hair back and forth is what she's saying.
Oh, man.
Let's see. Stephanie says,
sorry, go ahead.
Stephanie says, I saw where someone pointed out that when Coop is stumbling around in the road during the last scene that he was looking for the curtains from the Black Lodge. Like, where they pull over, is that supposed to be where the doppelganger like pulled over and had that car accident?
It looks like that a little bit.
When the doppelganger's like this?
Yeah. Oh, it looks like it.
Is that the same? You know what? It may not
be the same. It's not the same location, but
no. But I mean, I almost wonder if they shot it down the road.
I did think during that part that they were going to pass him on the road, because it did look very familiar because they're driving in like mountainous desert type spots, right? But I'm just having a thought right now about when Cooper and Mike walk up the staircase and they go towards when they're going to meet up with Philip. At that point, something flashes or whatever, and the jumping man comes down the stairs. Right. Seeing Sarah's face superimposed over the jumping man. So could that be when the Palmer house was no longer the Palmer house? Because the bad spirit left it or something.
Good question.
George says the electric towers that Cooper looks at or stops by looks like the Owl Cave symbol. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's see here. Steven says, my guess is that Laura whispers something like, you can never take me home, or worse, that effect. Yeah, maybe. Cooper has the same look on his face and makes the same sound as he does in the lap dancing scene in Showgirls during that moment. I just want to point that out.
Really?
Also,
really?
Yeah. Also want to say that I think Kyle MacLachlan, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure he has it in his contract that when he has sex on camera, a woman has to be on top. Because
Not with Annie, though. He wasn't like that with Annie.
we didn't see a sex scene with Annie.
I mean,
Oh.
well, we saw the preview.
We saw
years ago.
We saw the preview. We saw the preview. That was 25 years ago, by the way, Annie, not a few years ago. Like,
And it would.
Jeez, you're so bitchy. Calm down.
No, I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
No, but Janie E was on top. Laura Dern was on top, and then if you think back to Showgirls, Elizabeth Berkley was on top in that pool scene, that infamous pool scene. So is it true? Is it true that Kyle's contract says that? I'm just curious.
Anyway. You got ladies on the show here. So.
No, I'm asking you a question. Do you think Kyle has that in his contract?
I don't care.
I don't think so.
I think it just so happened. Well, what is Dougie going to be on top? Like, seriously, it's just not going to work that way, I'm sure. So,
well, I mean, even when he was Dougie before he was like, Dum Dougie. Well, whatever you want to call him, he was like, I mean, listen, that's another thing that was kind of bad. That original version of Dougie, I was like, what is this? I mean, it was like Kyle in a fat suit with like this. With the wig, and he's like, "That's weird," but I still think it looked better than Andy's fat pillow in his shirt.
Why did he have a fat pillow? It's been driving me crazy. Like, it makes no sense. Like, have resolution to it. Did Harry Goaz just wake up one day and be like, "Hey, David, this is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna wear a fat pillow because I want to show how Andy has evolved."
Wait.
Yeah, he's a dad now.
Okay, all right. Pineapple Squid says the reason why Cooper goes in the red room when Laura whispers in his ear is because she's whispering, "I'm on the bottom." All right. Anyway.
Oh dear.
100Z Matt says Andy was pregnant in this series. the way Harry is standing in that Wally Brando scene with his like fat pillow shirt sticking out like that. It's so, I mean, that's why I didn't think Wally Brando was like a real person. I was like, that whole scene is so ridiculous.
I still don't think he's real.
No, I don't either.
I want him to be real. Please don't kill my hope. I love Wally. He's like the only hope for the youth of Twin Peaks. They're all like drug addicts and like scratching their armpit. He's got like the healthiest armpit, but he's gone. That's why he's on his dharma right now. Riding his dharma.
Yeah, but he has multiple personality disorders, so it's just.
Does he?
Well,
I don't know. I just think
Martin Brett, or what's his name, Marlon Brando.
Yeah, or Jack Kerouac or something.
Yeah,
it's just weird.
He's cool. I like him.
So people are saying that they want to know what is happening to this podcast. Some people are saying Wally Brando was hilarious. Some people are saying no, he was a total shitbag.
Jesus. What could cause a reaction like this?
George says Andy is beautiful. The matter is size. You guys are mean. Some people. Another person says Andy was pudgy.
It's his dad.
Steven says I want some of what Cameron is drinking. I'm not drinking anything. I'm high on Lynch right now. That's what is going on. But anyway, it would have been awesome if Cooper and Diane had gotten the blue box from Mulholland Drive and opened it up and got sucked in. That's how they went to the other reality, not driving across Highway 66 or something. Because I kept waiting when he came back with Laura or Carrie, whatever.
I don't know why he went to Odessa either. Like, what how did he get there? Just following his instinct?
430 miles could go in either way. He could have driven up to Canada or whatever. But anyway, but I kept waiting when they were driving back through that long, 12-minute driving scene where they actually, stopped to get gas at one point.
Was it only 12 minutes?
Yeah. It felt like an eternity. And I say that in a very sweet way.
I was being sarcastic.
It was very intense. But they're driving back, and I kept waiting to get we're back,
Yeah.
And that never happened. So
yeah.
Let's see. Let's see what else we got going on here. Philip says, I love the soundtrack for Part 18 and credits. It's called Dark Space Low by Badalamenti. Well, I'm glad Badalamenti was contracted to write at least a couple songs for the series, because God knows they didn't play very much of his music in it. Let's see. George says, may the road always rise to meet your wheels.
That's from Mark Frost.
John says they should have passed Wally on the road.
That would have been awesome. Seriously, write it down.
Right,
it needs to happen.
Because when Wally's talking about, that funny little line about the shadow, and he only sees he doesn't see his shadow on cloudy days, that type of thing. But it reminds you of the fact that Cooper's going against his shadow self. The fact that the chromatics are singing "Shadow, take me down with you." There are thematic things going through this whole thing.
Of course.
And then Cooper and Diane have sex in a motel room. Okay. Let's see. Steven says Wally Brando should have opened the door. Oh, opened the Palmer House door.
Oh my god. Nice.
Nick, you're so mean. Mandy's going to kill you if I say this comment out loud. So
what?
He says Laura and the Fire Walk with Me flashback look like a Who from Whoville from the How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Oh, jeez.
I thought that, listen, Cheryl Lee is not 17 and 20 years old anymore. Okay. And I think that they got her looking really good for that flashback scene. Yes, they shot her at a distance for most of it, but for the most part, unless you knew it, hey, we're 27 years later. They blended it very well. The black and white photography helps. It does.
Yes.
And that's not a knock against her at all. I'm just
she's older. That's the way it is.
It's life.
Yeah, they're all older. Yeah.
I just think that with that thing, I think she was too far away. I would have liked to see her actually closer. And they obviously used some sort of like smoothing digital, like they did that with Jessica Lange, I think, in one of the American Horror Story seasons, which it seems like they've done with her, but I wish they would have drawn her eyebrows a little bit darker, because she looked very, well, not Whoville-ish, but there was something missing from her face that would have made it even more obvious. Because I know some people were like, oh, they got some young girl to play Laura. It's like, well, no, you can still tell it's her. It's just
totally.
Yeah.
Drake says, did you notice that the Welcome to Twin Peaks sign still said the same number as the 1989 sign? That's very cool. Where is it here? Someone said Pineapple Squid says, on the rewatch, we'll probably see Wally Brando everywhere.
Nice. Oh gosh.
It won't be Michael Cera, but maybe. I honestly thought that Wally Brando was going to show up in a Bookhouse Boys scene, and he was part of that, because the actor who played Joey Paulson was on the cast list.
What?
Yes.
I didn't get any Joey.
Well, maybe he did. Maybe he shows up like the woman from the Great Northern Hotel as Cooper's doctor. Maybe he's in there somewhere and we just didn't see him. But okay, so let's get into some real. Jason says Cheryl Lee was very impressive and captivating. Oh, she definitely was. In fact, her being in this, honestly, made me wish she had been in this more.
Yes.
Don't you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, let's get into some awesome speculating conspiracy stuff here. Kyle MacLachlan said today that there will be behind the scenes stuff on the DVD. It's not going to be much, okay? It's going to be just probably a small little thing. But that being said, I know you were there. I don't know for all of it or what, but Mandy, because you showed up when they were shooting, there are a lot of scenes that they shot that are not in this series. Now, I again, 18 hours, long time. I know some people said it's under 18 hours, but I'm just saying 18 parts. But there's something to be said about that. Lynch always overshoots. I mean, the first cut of Wild at Heart was 5 hours, right? And I think he scaled it back to what it needed to be. But that being said, he used to say he would never release deleted scenes, and now he releases them all the time now, which is great. I love it, and I hope that Criterion eventually puts out Wild at Heart, and so we get the lime green deleted scenes actually in 1080p. That'd be great. Okay, but you were telling me, and maybe some people out there can find this because I can't find it online anymore. There was a fight scene between Bobby Red with Shelley there. True?
That's what Andrew told me. He said that he had seen pictures a year and a half ago of something like Red grabbing onto Shelley and Bobby coming up, and Becky was there too at some point. So whether Bobby's coming to stop it or something, but there were pictures, and he spent probably like 2 hours over the last few days trying to find those pictures, but they're completely gone. They were on one of the more popular sites, I guess, and taken down. But and then there's also, your story too of the motorcycle and the white face.
But
that's just two.
But I could I could make a how do I say this? I think I can make a case for something.
Okay.
James's motorcycle was used for the stand-in scenes in the Fire Walk with Me, for when that extra shot when they showed them stand away, and and Cooper in black and white would need white makeup for the black and white.
Damn it.
So
Damn it.
Now, it was not communicated to me that way. It was communicated to me that Cooper was wearing the white face like Wyndham Earle was wearing the white face. And that James' bike was parked in the woods, and it seemed like James had disappeared in like the portal. But I have a feeling it was probably the Firewalk with Me stuff, and it just got miscommunicated to me. But we know there's a lot more that got shot. And again, yes, people in the chat saying, yeah, but every director overshoots and edit. Yeah, of course. But since this whole series is so fragmented by like just scene and then different scene and different scene, but there's more connective tissue in there. Yeah. And we just lost you, Mandy.
I know, I'm here.
Okay. Last time you turned off your camera, people just saw my face for the next hour, and people were horrified and disgusted and started puking Garmonbozia everywhere.
Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm back. Here I am.
Oh, okay. John says, do we think that Lynch shot resolutions to several plot points? No. George says, I bet they'll include some of the missing pieces. Lynch has been releasing deleted scenes for a lot of his work: Inland Empire, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, and Firewalk with Me.
How could you even decipher a deleted scene from Inland Empire? Okay, that's it. That's all I'm going to say.
The whole movie should have been deleted.
See, there you go. It's the only thing of his I couldn't get through. I'm just like, I can't do it.
No, I kid. Eric said on the podcast the other day, goes, every time you do one of these podcasts, you always throw in a little dig at Inland Empire, which I own. It's a movie. It's a movie I will criticize to my dying day, but it's a movie I own. and you know, I've said many times the Inland Empire is like a video game to me, where it's like I keep trying to get through it, and around like level 3 I die and I just give up, and then like 6 months later I try again, and one of these days I'll get to the ending. I mean, I've gotten to the ending, I've seen the whole movie, but I'm saying one day I will figure out the movie and I will love it like other people love it. But right now I'd rather watch Dumbland 20 times in a row than watch Inland Empire, but that's just me. I'd rather watch the Industrial Symphony in reverse.
Oh dear.
So.
Oh, that was remind me of something. No, can't remember. Okay.
People are saying, oh, people are like, rude. Inland Empire is the bomb. Yeah, like the bomb in episode 8.
the atomic bomb.
That's what it felt like in the movie theater when that movie played.
Oh.
It's like you paid for this shit. Take this.
If you want to watch a good piece of Lynch, you watch Blue Velvet or you watch Fire Walk with Me or Wild at Heart. Or actually any of them apart from Inland Empire. I can't get behind it. I'm sorry. Hate me all you want.
Okay, now. I can trash Inland Empire, but if someone else trashes Inland Empire, I'm going to be like, well, you need to look at this part and this part.
Excuse me.
There's only room on this podcast for one person hating on Inland Empire. I cannot take a chat game going after all three of us. Remember when we dissed the Laura is the one title for the episode and we got killed for a solid week online?
My gosh.
How many death threats did we get that week?
All of you people that were mean to us, that was mean.
Yeah, Laura was the one. Yeah, she was attacking the 50-foot Laura outside David Lynch's hotel room.
Which they still never explained or went back to.
Yes, but who was she talking to? She was talking to Donna in that scene, you know. I just got one thing to say. Mandy, are you my best friend?
Or am I the only one who's always been really troubled when she yelled like, I love you, James, like when she gets off the bike. I mean,
I love it. I love
awful.
It makes no.
Gives me chills.
No.
Gives me chills.
Oh,
it gives
up every time she says that.
Yes.
I'm
Really?
so glad they put that in there so that a whole new world of people can hear her say that. It's so amazing.
And just that, that image has always haunted me because the way she screams, because like he says in the pilot, she grabbed me, she told me she loved me, and then ran off into the woods. And that shot of him turning and she's running into the woods always haunted me. But I noticed in this when they replayed the scene, I was hoping they were going to do it, and they didn't give it to us either. When James speeds away and they start panning down again, I was like, give it to me. Because in the original cut of Fire Walk with Me, when he drives away, the camera panned down and showed Doc Hayward's wilted red rose that he lost on the side of the road from that magic trick.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah, you didn't know about that?
Is that that's in the script?
Yeah.
Okay. I read the script like 20 years ago.
Well, when you watch that shot of James speeding away, the camera starts to move down, and then it cuts to Laura walking through the woods, but the camera is moving down to the rose.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, sad.
And I was really hoping that they were going to pan down and maybe, just for this version, color correct it because it's black and white and make it a blue rose. That would have been epic.
Ooh.
Yeah. Let me see how much hate I'm getting in the chat right now. Let's see. John says Inland Empire's aesthetic was its most challenging. Where is it? Challenging thing. The resolution has always bothered me. Let's see.
What, you can't see movies filmed in the dark? Sorry, I hate them.
George says, "I'd rather watch Inland Empire than Wild at Heart." Okay, George, you're never coming back on the podcast again.
George,
George.
I'm kidding.
Hi, George.
I'm kidding.
What's up, George?
Don't be dissing Wild at Heart like that. That won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. Oh, Mandy. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time. Because we know other people aren't going to be joining me for it now, but maybe we should set up the Inland Empire watch along. Look at her face. She's like, bite your tongue. Bite your tongue.
And in that moment, I didn't know him. No, forget it. Not even. Actually, you know what? That would be super fun. But everyone is going to hate both of us at the end of it because I'm literally going to be like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen.
People would end the chat saying, your obnoxious anonymous channel has disappeared, and then like delete me off YouTube. It would just end. This whole series of podcasts is just going to end with me screaming, "I love you, YouTube," and running off into the woods.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Let's see.
If you can get 500 people to email you, do an Inland Empire watch along.
No, I've had a lot of people. I've had a lot of people, you know, because for a long time it was always the running joke about with James and stuff, like, oh, we'll do the Inland Empire watch along with commentary or whatever, and we never got around to doing it because every time we thought about doing it, we're like, not today. This is not going to happen. Not today. Bell Jar Girls, it's not your fault if you don't get it. I love that Lynch. I love that Lynch fan kind of response. Well, you don't understand it because you just don't get it. Man, he's just keeping her. She's biting her tongue right now. Inland Empire. I will say this. Inland Empire, there's a great 90 minutes in that movie. I don't think it should have been a 3-hour epic. You didn't like any of it, Mandy? None of it?
I like Justin Theroux. He was in that, right?
He was in it.
Yeah.
But you would like Justin Theroux in anything, though, not necessarily.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that got me through it, was just waiting and just watching. But even then, it was like, oh, I can't do it. I couldn't even watch it for him. You just turned into James Hurley for a second. I can't do it. Whoops. All right, we're going to take some final questions before we just completely implode this podcast and everyone starts hating us again. Because it is happening again. You know what? This is a Twin Peaks podcast right now, so we're not talking. Don't hate us for Inland Empire hate. It's all about Twin Peaks. No, but I will say this, though. Looking at this series of Twin Peaks, this new series, I will say that in many ways, the closest thing that Lynch has ever made to resemble this series is Inland Empire. In terms of just how each scene is kind of standalone unto itself, and where it cuts to doesn't really matter where it cuts to most of the time. And then we come back and forth to different stories, and things have happened in the meantime, and we don't really know where we are half the time. But it's interesting. But the reason why we're okay with this is we have the nostalgia of Twin Peaks, and it wasn't filmed with a handy cam. So it just looks more polished. If Inland Empire didn't have that Sony PD-150 look, where it looked like he just came out of Circuit City and and filmed this movie. I remember Laura during the premiere, they said, "What do you think about the movie?" And she goes, "I don't even know what we shot." I mean, oh jeez, she was just called over the last 3 years to be like, "Can you show up in this scene?" Okay, great. And it's so funny because when he was making that movie, when he did Blue Velvet, he didn't curse once. I mean, he'd tell Dennis Hopper, when you say that word, but when you see the making of Inland Empire, he's just like, F this, F that. He's just cursing up a storm. Yeah. So it makes you wonder if there's any validity to Julie Cruz's statements on Facebook the other day, bringing it back. No, see, I'm gonna flip the tables now. Don't be smack talking my Lynch there. I'm not. I'm just saying. Do you think that there is? Look, we people have said, yeah, she's kind of, she might be a little divish at time, but do you think that there's any truth to it? I mean, because you look at the part 17, most people got full performances. She got about 30 seconds credits and out. Do you think that he purposely kind of screwed her over? Do you think she has a point? I think in a way, The World Spins is such a in-depth song that it did feel truncated, didn't it not? It did, yes. It wasn't used to its full potential, especially the way it had been previously. And if you're going to give James Marshall his song, which was fantastic, I screamed all the way through it. I mean, Julie Cruz is right up there with that, right? You gave Eddie Vedder a full song, really? Like, his song is beautiful, but he's not part of the family kind of thing, right? So why they chose to, I love that they chose to put her there where they did, but it should have been longer, at least. Or put one of her songs over top of the sex scene or something like that, if you're, to include her a little bit more. But does that mean that he's just a jerk? No, he's probably just, he had his ideas to what he wanted to do, and she didn't fit into that. And it may have been personal, maybe not. I have no idea. I don't know the man. I've never met him. So, but
Nick says part of 17 was 59 minutes long. Well, that honestly doesn't really mean anything, because the whole point of editing this thing to parts was that it didn't matter how long it was. I mean, originally when they were editing this, we were told that some episodes would be perhaps 40 minutes long and some episodes would be like an hour and 21 minutes long. Like, there was no length of, he didn't have to fit it within an hour. If he decided that part 17 should have been an hour and 15 minutes, it was going to be an hour and 15 minutes. So, Bill Jar Girl says Julie Cruz is a part of the Twin Peaks cast, pretty much. Yeah, I agree.
It really was a shame that she was only in there for a brief time. It really, really was.
Well, it's just because some people had like 7-minute long songs.
Yeah.
And I think if you were going to give Julie Cruz a song that was going to be kind of short, then pick a song not like The World Spins that depends on the length of time. Like, when you think of that song in part 14 of or episode 14 of season 2, that it there's a reason why it plays that slow, because it's just it needs that breathing room. I personally was hoping it was going to be Into the Night, so that when Laura screams and the lights explode outside her house, you would just hear, "Now it's dark." That would have been epic, which gets no reaction from any of them.
I'm falling asleep. Sorry, it's late here.
All right. Well, okay. We're gonna wrap this up. I don't want Annie falling asleep.
Live.
Yeah, live. We don't want any snoring or drooling. We don't want, zombie going on.
Yeah.
Rosenfield 10 says the Platters got more airtime than Julie Cruz. And someone says, why don't we get more Julie Cruz and cut out that second Au revoir Simone song?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, that right there is a kick in the teeth, really, if you look at it. But they could have swapped her out. Even if Rebecca Del Rio, if she had been at the end of 17 with a brief clip of that No Stars or something, that would have also been beautiful, and give her her moment, or her 10 minutes that Rebecca got at the during the shortest episode ever. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate, but
yeah. One more thing I just want to throw out, unfortunate about this new series. I was really hoping that, since we saw in part 8 that the woodsman took over the radio station and did the infamous, "This is the water," that speech. I was really hoping. Again, I'm not saying this was a bad thing they didn't do it. I just wish they would have. I would have loved it if they had taken over Dr. Jacoby's podcast and done that, and put the whole town to sleep that way.
Yeah.
And while they're going to sleep, while everyone's asleep, that's when Richard and what's her name?
Linda.
No, the other one. What's Shirley's name? Paige. Carrie. Richard and Carrie, whatever.
Oh.
That's when they drive into town, once the whole town's asleep.
Ooh. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I wanted to see a Dr. Amp showdown. You know what's interesting? We didn't lose anybody. Yeah. None of our people died.
Well, hey, now there was too much real death going on in this show.
Well, that's very, very true, actually.
I'm just glad. I'm just glad that Albert didn't die in this series, because that would have been absolutely horrible if
oh my gosh,
if Tulpa Diane had gotten in a shot or something. So
Miguel Ferrer was one of the best things that ever happened to Twin Peaks.
Right,
First time around, and now
George says, I think Jacoby was there to give Nadine that push to dig herself out of the shit. My only thing about that is Nadine didn't have a story. She sat there and watched an episode of his podcast and then went troopsing down the road with the shovel. I mean, that's not a storyline. That's a fragment, you know?
But we don't see anything. Maybe she's just a sample of that effect. Maybe there are other characters in that whole town that had their out of the shit into the truth moment as well. We just like didn't see that. Like we didn't see the Cooper take the ring under the pillow and bring it to Twin Peaks, but he did.
Right. Beljar Girl says Nadine had a story. She let go of Ed. Well, good for her. I mean,
yeah.
No, it's ridiculous.
I don't care about that 25 years later because she gave him up before, and it's the same. They didn't write anything new for Ed, Norma, or Nadine.
Well, that's my only thing. It's like, yeah, I love those actors, but for Nadine to just wake up one day and be like, all right, Ed, 25 years later, you can go back to Norma, and then he runs back to the diner. Norma, will you marry me? I already saw that in season 2.
Yeah.
But I did feel like she was maturing or something, as like on her face when she was looking at Jacoby's TV program or whatever. Like she seemed
like she was buying a shovel to beat Ed over the head with. That smile she had in her face, she was like this, I'm gonna kill him.
No, she had some personal growth going on.
Well,
I'm proud of Nadine.
Yes, but yeah, every single person I've ever talked to that watches that shovel scene when she comes walking up to Ed, they're like, oh no, oh my goodness, she's gonna clock him.
Because every time something horrible happens in this new series, it was daytime. Just bright daytime. And so I just was thinking, yeah, she's just going to walk up and Ed? Yes. Let's see. George is saying, poor Ed. Beljar says, girl says, we don't understand Nadine. Let's see. Steven says, I don't think Nadine was ever going to hurt Ed ever. Let's see. Who George says some people who gets the award for worst acting in the show? I don't know. I really wasn't bothered by really anybody in the series, like acting wise. Was there anybody? Is there anybody that just rubbed you the wrong way? I can't think of anybody.
No, me neither, actually.
I mean, I think some of the parts were maybe a little underwritten. And some of them were deliberately over the top, but that doesn't make them like bad performers.
Yeah. Everybody was very good with what they had to do.
Yeah.
And what they had to do, let's be clear about this, was very hard because they got scenes that had no connection to any other scene with no character development. They were just, here you go, here's some lines. And they had to interpret that into creating a character that they didn't know where they were coming or going in this series. Matthew Lillard told his wife he wasn't even going to be in the series until part 12. And he shows up in part 1, right? So they didn't even know where the hell they were.
He did this, there was part of an article. I literally laughed for like 5 minutes. I don't know why. I think it's just because he's such a charming type of person, and I can hear him saying this, and he's like, I don't even think David Lynch knows my real name. He just calls me Bill Hastings. And I can totally see that being the truth, like that David Lynch was just like, oh yeah, that's Bill Hastings.
People are saying that they really didn't like Krista Bell in this. I will say that there are some scenes where Krista Bell is god awful and other scenes where she's really good.
She's grown. I'm a big Krista Bell fan now. At first, the first time I saw her, I was a bit shocked. She's not the regular actress, I guess. But for Twin Peaks, she was perfect with her alien-like gracefulness. She was amazing. Honestly, I've been watching her videos and stuff, and it's not my type of music, but it's starting to be almost. I think she's an awesome woman, and she's a inspiration. She's good.
Beljar Girl says she hated Freddie. You want to stand up for him?
Yeah, Freddie. I like Freddie. He's awesome. He's comical. I like him. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like a good audience who's just like happy whatever you throw at her. I'm just like, yay.
Some people
I like him.
Some people are bashing my convenience store girl. You cannot bash my convenience store girl. The one that turns and goes, What?
She was cool.
Oh, ooh. George lays down the hostility and says Sherilyn Fenn gave the worst performance of the series. Ooh. What do we think? I will say overall no, but I think the first scene she was in with Charlie was very not complimentary to her acting style, because she did not seem very comfortable every time she had to curse.
No,
I'm still not sure.
It was very awkward. But
yeah, I'm actually...
I don't think it was her fault, though. I think it was just she was just given an unfortunate piece of paper to memorize, and that's what came out.
Like, we haven't addressed Audrey that much, but I think it's because she's one of the most confusing characters right now. Because the character, like, her scenes are confusing. Like, one scene kind of argues against the other scene, so I'm not sure what to make out of the whole Audrey thing in season 3 at all.
Drake says, why didn't they just give the green glove plot to James and cut the Freddie character? That would have been cool. I would have loved to see
that would have been nice.
James redeeming himself with the...
Well, it kind of showed the whole international collaboration and how the giant was almighty powerful to, like, get different people from around the world to help on that mission. So it's,
but if they're gonna do international stuff, then talk to me about Argentina. Talk to me about the little black box that went away. Like,
yeah.
Freddie. I mean, yeah, I liked Freddie. I thought he was adorable. I thought it was nice that James had a friend. But it.
Well, what about? Well, I mean, it's like Shelley. Like I'm not criticizing their acting. I'm just saying Shelley's in that scene in part 2 where she's sitting around with, like, looks like she has friends. I mean, she has friends at the Roadhouse. We never see them again, except for Renee. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's let's see. Oh, people are saying George saying, I said I didn't like Audrey as a character. She's a good actress and I liked her last scene. Well, great. I thought she'd work better too. I think the last scene is fun, but that first initial scene, it's a badly written scene, and it should not have been 11 minutes long. That's especially for where it's going.
Yeah.
I mean, you would have gotten the same reaction if it had been 5 minutes long. I don't know. I think that the second scene and the third scene with her and Charlie, they worked better. I think the Roadhouse scene worked fine.
I don't know. The distortion between all of them, I think, does something overall to confuse us about what's happening with Audrey.
But what I'm saying, but at the same time, though, you can't lose your audience, like, boring them to smithereens either. Like, what are they talking about? Why do we care? And in the grand scheme of things, when you look back, none of it mattered. So
yeah.
And now I don't want to call out any of these people, but I think some of the bad acting too had to do with some of the, and again, maybe some of the lines written too. I think some of the scenes in the at the Roadhouse, some of those scenes, I didn't care about those characters.
Yeah.
I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah.
And I knew that meant the end of the part was coming usually. And yawn.
Yeah.
Speaking of
I
yawn,
didn't like those people. Yeah. I like the girl who which song was it? When she talks about what happened with her, was her uncle there? Was her uncle not there? And then Billy, and during the song, like, the girl keeps looking at her like there's something really odd with her. Like, I don't like that girl for some reason. Like, I don't want to see her ever again. Ever.
Well, it's weird. Okay, worst acting though has to be the friends. I can't remember the girl's name. The friends of the girl that Richard Horne grabs by the throat in the Roadhouse, because they sit there and they do nothing. Like, I don't know any group of girls that would not just stand up and be like, "What are you doing? Get off him! Get off her!"
Hey, Jane Levy said, she was like, "Hey, stop it," or something. She did something, but, like, seriously, like, Jane Levy has, like, carried 2 shows by herself. And she literally got one line in Twin Peaks that nobody can even remember. Like, why wasn't she Charlotte? use someone that we know at least. I don't know. It was weird.
Well, Charlotte Yee was in it because she's good friends with Michael Cera because they made that.
No. The character's name was Charlotte.
Oh, okay. Oops, my bad. Steven says, I think the idea was that Richard was so scary. Richard was not, no. He's a punk.
Yeah.
He's a punk that deserved to be curb stomped, but he got rock stomped instead.
Trust me, no girl wants to walk like in a dark alley at night and face that guy, Richard. Like, you just know you're in trouble. So I think he creeps me out. He's a loser. Like, I hate him, but he's creepy.
But what an actor. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, of course.
He's fantastic.
He is, but he's so good that you wish there had been more for his character, because when he got roasted like that, it's like, yes, it's satisfactory that he dies, but I kind of wish there was more for him to have done.
Well, yeah, it was very quick. Like, all of a sudden, we're going to get rid of Richard. And like, why didn't we hear a conversation in the car with him and Mr. C? Like, hey, so you're my dad.
No, he didn't. I don't think he knew that. But I do think that we went through so much hell with that character, like hurting so many people, that for him to just be gone like that, I kind of expected a little bit more to who he is.
Especially with his name, because he was called Richard. He got attached to him just to break that code, and then you realize he's not even the guy.
Well, right. But it is strange how, like, Ben, Sylvia, obviously Johnny's not going to do it. Richard, nobody mentions Audrey ever. The only person who mentions Audrey's name is Doc Hayward as something from the past. Not even when Frank Truman goes to see Ben Horne, he doesn't say, "So have you heard from his mother?" or anything like that. I mean, it's just, there's nothing about Audrey.
Yeah, except when the evolution of the arm actually quotes her and the little girl down the lane story. Like, that was creepy. I'm not sure what to make out of this. I actually need to watch that movie.
And that was so good. And it's like, no, don't end it now. Like, what are you doing with this?
Yeah.
That was really shocking for the arm to say that. And then we got nothing. Nothing at all.
But I love the fact, though, that he was like this total, like, just asshole to everybody, and then around Red and around Doppelcooper, he was just like, you could just tell. I mean, he was just a punk that could just beat around, Yeah. It was intense. But all right, guys, we're gonna probably conclude this before Annie starts falling asleep, and I have to say, how's Annie? And she's like this, how's Annie? Like from like zombie.
That's exactly how it goes every night. That's what I look like.
Really?
I don't know. I don't see myself. I should probably do an episode of Fire Watch with me, which is just like me sleeping, and people are gonna watch that.
And then but leave your mic on so I can start talking about Sunny Jim, like
mac and cheese. Yeah,
mac and cheese, Sunny Jim. That's what she said. Didn't you hear it? I heard it. Someone turned up the sound 315 decibels, and I heard Sunny Jim mac and cheese.
I don't know. Now that because of the mac and cheese, I'm going back to you remember the other day I told you I call him Sunny D instead of Sunny Jim. Yeah. So it's orange. It's an orange theme.
Yeah, I mean they live on Lancelot Court. There's so many King Arthur references. Sunny Jim doesn't talk for 3 episodes, and then when he does, he talks about brushing his teeth, just like the doppelganger did. Look, there's so many weird things going on in this thing, but in the grand scheme of things, I mean, some of it went somewhere, some of it didn't go somewhere, but I love the whole thing. Even though everyone in the chat seems to think that, we're just bashing the show now and just spending our Friday night just bashing this thing. We're not. No. We're not bashing Twin Peaks. We're bashing Inland Empire. Okay. No.
There you go.
I'm not a part of that.
I'm kidding. All right. So, Annie, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
It was
real. Yeah, of course.
Super real. Mandy, I'm so happy your camera didn't conk out on us tonight.
Me too.
and it wasn't knocked over, so that's good.
It was just one time. Oh, Annie just left.
How's Annie? Apparently gone.
She's gone.
she's like
out.
She's like Wait, hold it. You're going to make me laugh. My name is Annie. I was with Cameron and Mandy. The good Cameron was trapped on his podcast 1 week ago, and he can't leave. Write it, not in your diary, but in your tablet paper, and then stick it in the men's bathroom at the sheriff's station in Twin Peaks.
Oh, what a night.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you spending almost 3 hours with us talking silliness and nonsense, but we're trying to work through all of our emotions, complex emotions with this whole series. I love the whole series. Even if I have things I make fun of and complain about, I love the whole thing. I really, really do.
Yeah,
so please don't hear all the stuff we say and give us thumbs down and write horrible, nasty, terrible things that make me cry myself to sleep at night every night. So Mandy, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we're going to return soon with more Thought of the Days and watch-alongs and all that stuff. But I'm still wrapping my mind around this whole thing. It's been almost a week, and I still was lynched, and I'm still feeling a little wobbly. I don't know which way I am, but I'm going to be thinking about this series for a long, long time, and I really do hope it comes back. And I have a really good feeling it's going to. Maybe not in a big series, but I think it's going to. And I think we're going to get an announcement maybe a week or two before Mark Frost's book comes out in October, because that will be perfect timing to promote the book. So keep your fingers crossed. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next time. In the meantime,